You're listening to the Joel Martin Mastery Podcast, your source of music news, stories, and 2-hour deep dive interviews with bands that have sold over 150 million albums. If you've been enjoying the podcast, please take a moment to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Now let's dive in to today's episode. Welcome to the Joel Martin Mastery Podcast. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. We are joined by a very special guest. He's achieved a level of mastery as the singer and bass player for the band Stuck on Planet Earth. Their single Erase Me was one of the most played songs on mainstream rock radio in Canada in 2025, and they just released their new album, All But Nothing. So welcome to the podcast, Al Capo. Al, how are you? And is it true that you're so comfortable on stage because you did a little acting as a child?
Yes. Hi, how are you, Joel? Thanks for having me, man. Been stoked to do this. I'm really happy to be here right now. I did, yeah. Yes, I kind of grew up doing theater as a young kid in Toronto, doing a bunch of I guess like Shakespeare select scenes and excerpts from Shakespeare with like a theater group. And then later in junior high and high school, I did a few musicals as well. And yeah, that was a pretty big time in my life because it was very formative for me at the time.
And is that still a passion of yours, or is that something that was a passion just growing up?
Yeah, no, not so much anymore. I haven't acted in a very long time, but I still love the art, appreciate it. Theater had taught me so much about how to be a performer and how to be on stage, and I had so many like acting coaches. Probably a lot of people don't know this, so I'm happy that you're asking me about this. But yeah, I did it till I was like, I don't know, maybe 16, 17, but I was doing so many other things. I was playing in a band in high school. I was playing hockey. So there's so much stuff going on in my life. And then kind of when I got to university, I was like, all right, the band was starting to do its thing and walk on its own a little bit. And then I kind of left it in the past. But, growing up, learning excerpts of Shakespeare, whether it was like, playing Lysander in Midsummer's Night Dream or, did some excerpts of Macbeth where I played Banquo or Hamlet where I played Horatio. It was pretty cool as a kid to learn that language like that. I think it really helped me develop my communication style as I grew up. So I definitely look back at that time and very pretty fond of it.
Well, anytime you can learn some Shakespeare, you become a man of substance,
Is that it? Is that what they say? Okay.
That's what I don't know
Yeah,
who they are, but that's what they say. Yeah.
well, I remember being like, man, I must have been like 10 years old and I played Lysander in Midsummer's Night Dream. And if you don't know what that play is about, the whole idea, which is totally absurd to be a kid playing that, because the whole play is about these four characters that go off into a magical forest. And basically, if I remember correctly, like they have some magical potion from a flower or something, and then they fall in love with the first person they see. Anyways, suffice to
AKA
say,
psychedelics.
yeah, psychedelic shit. And suffice to say that I was like 10 years old acting out these like love scenes with female actresses. And I remember just like my parents being like, okay, this is pretty serious stuff when I was a kid. So, but yeah, it's fun. It's really funny to think back now. I wish we had, sometimes I wish we had like phones and cameras and all that stuff to like have playback. I have none of this stuff recorded, which is probably maybe a good thing actually that I think about it.
Now we know the genesis of your frontman charisma, where that comes from. It's from that play.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, maybe Midsummer Night Dream. Thanks. Shout out to Shakespeare.
Well, your acting chops came into play where you guys as a band Stuck on Planet Earth, you had a prominent scene in a TV show on Netflix and you had speaking lines that, that's not easy to do. Did you dive deep into the well of knowledge from your childhood
Oh man.
acting to do that scene? Because you guys did a great job. Like it doesn't, sometimes there's a band and it's like they're just there to be the band, and then if they have
Yeah.
speaking lines, normally it's terrible. But your scene was awesome, and it flows right in the show.
You know what, man? That was okay. So that's my most recent acting that I've really done, besides doing like, skits with the band on Instagram. Um, yeah, that's really funny. Like I remember that they loved our song Skin Talk, so they wanted to use our song Skin Talk in the show. And at the time it was COVID, so they were shooting in Etobicoke in this basically indoor warehouse that was set up to shoot all these films and movies. And it was a crazy time because we had to like go in with masks, check in, do a test, all this stuff. Anyways, the day that we went in, prior to going in, we did a reading over a voice note, and the director was like, "Yeah, let's use it." And so, in my experience, anytime I'd been on, because I had an agent and tried to be in film and stuff, a lot of the time stuff would get cut out, but. So I was expecting like, okay, we're gonna shoot this scene, it's gonna get cut out for sure, or they're just gonna play the song and just like be quick. But no, they actually kept it, so it was flattering. So I joke with my mom that that's like my acting skills paying off in the show that is Sex Life. So it's pretty funny.
Did you only know that they kept your dialogue once the official show came out and you watched it yourself on Netflix?
Basically, yeah. Like I remember that it was kind of like the height of COVID, and yeah, basically the show blew up. I think it went to like number one that season, and it's a pretty interesting show. Like a little bit softcore pornish, um, but yeah, we saw it after, and we're like, damn, they kept the part, and so many people had reached out to us, man. When to see something reach the mainstream in that way on Netflix, for people that don't love rock music or alternative rock or whatever, and just have like all these random people from all of our childhoods reach out and be like, oh my God, I saw you on the show. Like that was like a big deal to everybody. So it was a really cool moment for us because it's forever there. And yeah, I'm happy that we got to do it. It was a really fun experience and something that we still like watch and laugh back at now.
You thought you were just going to be this background band, and then you watch it and you're like, am I a lead actor on this show?
Yeah, my one qualm is I hate my haircut in that show at the time. Was not happy with my flow at all in that, but it's okay. I'll take it.
That was everyone during COVID when you couldn't get a haircut, essentially.
Yeah,
Everyone had
basically.
wild hair, wild beards.
Yeah, my hair was particularly short in that one though. I was like, what did I do? I like had like buzz side anyways, and whatever. The other thing I'll say is that we're like so we're there and we're looking like around at all the actresses and the actors, and we're like, damn, like everybody's like really skinny. And we're like, shit, like, okay. And then like, we're like normal sized dudes. And of course the camera puts on like all this weight, and these like super skinny models and actors look like totally normal. And then, there's the beefy boys of the band performing on stage. So that was like something that we're like, oh, okay, that's how Hollywood works. So that was funny to us.
Yeah, we're not all built equal. It's hard to look like those models and actors, right?
We're Italian. We like to eat. We like our carbs. We enjoy food. So that's something hard to put aside.
We're going to do a full 2 hour deep dive interview here. We're going to
Mm.
cover your life, your career, your discography. There's so much to get to. The new album just came out in the last 48 hours. So I really want to focus on that as well as what you have planned for 2026. But I want to get started all the way back at the beginning. Where does this love of music come from? Is there an earliest musical memory that stands out to you?
For sure. Well, first of all, I have older siblings, older brother and sister who were a few years older than me. So music was always around the house. My sister was like listening to like Radiohead and Nirvana. My brother was really into grunge, like Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and Alice in Chains. So this stuff was sort of always playing. And then my dad loved the Beatles, and my dad loved the Gypsy Kings, and my mom loved like 1960s pop music. So music was always part of my household. It was always playing. But my earliest memory was Toy Story 1 comes out. And I remember the trailer on TV had the boys are back in town, the boys are right. And I was like, man, what is that song? And I like made my dad take me out to like Yorkdale Mall at the time. And I hunted down the Toy Story 1 album, and I bring it home to find out that it is not on that album. And it's a lot of just like, Disney music. So that was my first memory where I actively wanted to hunt for a song at like 6 or 7 years old. So that's something that comes up for sure.
That song, Boys Are Back in Town, that's Thin Lizzy, I believe.
Thin Lizzy, yes, yes, it's Thin Lizzy.
What's funny is last night I was at the Triumph and April Wine concert here in Ottawa, and in between bands are playing music in the arena, and the boys are back in town comes on, and my dad, I brought my parents, and my dad
I love
goes,
it.
"Wait, is this another?" Canadian band, and I go, no, I don't think Thin Lizzy is Canadian. So we just had the boys are back in town moment last night.
That's amazing. Yeah, I was so disappointed that there was no Thin Lizzy on the Toy Story album, and instead it was a lot of, oh gosh, what's the You Got a Friend in Me? Who sings that? Oh my God, the name escapes me right now.
I always mix that up with "You've Got a Friend" from
Right.
James Taylor. So
But yes, no Thin Lizzy. But yeah, that was like when I was like really wanted to have a CD. And then, growing up, listening to, obviously my brother and sister's influences. And then I, was listening to pop growing up, whether it was the Backstreet Boys or NSYNC or the Spice Girls. That was like really hot when I was a kid. So I remember just loving like pop music. And then it wasn't until like junior high that I really started to develop my own taste for, rock and punk rock music and sort of started to bridge the gap for myself at that time.
can we take a moment to acknowledge that your family has exquisite taste in music? Basically, the music you mentioned for each family member was awesome
Yes.
across the board.
Yes, they're gonna be happy. They'll listen to this, and shout out to my family, my brother and my sister. Dude, my sister saw Radiohead's first show in Toronto at the Opera House. Like that's pretty cool. I had a very cool. My sister still has great music taste, and so does my brother. So they were like a big part. And then when I started to sort of form my own music taste, and then grow, and then go through high school and like whatever. I knew all those songs already because they had just always been in the background. Even like, Canadian stuff like Our Lady Peace or Moist or The Tragically Hip. Like, I really, it's like it was always sort of in the background. And then when I started to really listen and hone in on what I liked, it was like, oh crap, I knew all this other music because of them. So yeah, they're amazing influences on my musical taste for sure.
I saw Radiohead in Montreal for their Hail to the Thief album tour. So I think it was probably 2003 then. 'Cause I think that's when the album came out. And normally you go to a concert, and if they're a big band, maybe there's 15,000 people, 20,000 people. If you go to a festival and they combined all these big bands and their drawing power, maybe there's
Yes.
40,000 people. I saw just
Yeah.
Radiohead alone, and there was 60,000 people outside in Montreal. And it was one of the best shows I've ever seen. And it was the light show that was unbelievable. Best light show I've ever seen.
Dude, I'm so jealous. I was supposed to go. Me and my brother had tickets to go to Downsview Park. Can't remember what the year was. I don't know if it was the In Rainbows era, but their drum tech passed away.
Is that when the stage collapsed?
Yeah, the stage collapsed and then they canceled the show. It was like maybe 2 hours before. And I remember it was such a beautiful sunny day and I was like so stoked and I was like, man, we're gonna have a great time. And yeah, I don't think they've come back to Toronto, but man, I mean, I would, yeah, would love to see them. And I also love a lot of Tom York's solo stuff. So it's, yeah, man, I can't wait till the day till I get to watch Radiohead live.
Here in Ottawa, we have Blues Fest, which is one of the biggest festivals in
Yeah.
all of Canada. I get the full pass. I go every year. We have it coming up in July. And I think it was last year, maybe the year before, The Smile was one of the headliners. So I saw Tom
Oh,
York's
awesome.
side project.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Is that with Flea? Is Flea in that band?
I think the connection is Flea just put out his first ever solo album, and the
Right.
single features Tom York singing on it. So that's the only
No,
connection.
I know that, but I thought, or maybe is a smile with someone from Nine Inch Nails? Is it from Atticus from Nine Inch Nails?
I'm not sure, man. I got to do more research on that. The Flea connection in my head is something recent as well. When did you start playing bass? So you talked about hearing your family playing incredible music. You become a music fan. When do you become a musician?
Around 12 years old. Yeah. So me and Adam was in the band. When we were in junior high together, they had something at our high school called Rock Night, and we wanted to form a band for Rock Night. And the story of the bass player, as it always goes, is Adam was already playing guitar. His father played guitar, so he was sort of already doing that. And I had just started playing guitar, but I couldn't really do much. Could maybe play a couple power chords or something, but I could play bass. I was good enough to play bass because only four strings. So, and we couldn't find a bass player at 12 years old. Lots of drummers, lots of guitar players at that age in Toronto, or Vaughan. No bass players. So that's that. I picked up the bass, and I think Adam's dad went out to buy us a PV white bass, and I took it, and then that was it, man. Started playing bass, but. got better at guitar over the years as well, and so that was really just the beginning. It was out of necessity of having to play in a band and needing a bass player at the time.
I wanted to kick off this interview powerfully. So I reached out and got some kind words from Adam Bianchi himself, guitarist for Stuck on Planet Earth. You just talked about him. You've known him since you were teenagers or kids. So this is from
Yeah.
Adam. He says,
Okay.
the thing I love about Al is his tenacity. He's someone I can always count on, and deep down, he has a strong heart. Musically, we are two peas in a pod. It's like we finish each other's sentences when we write music together. To be able to grow alongside him in a band and as a brother is something I'll forever be grateful for. That's from Adam.
Dude, that's very kind. Yeah, that's my dog. That's a day one dog. You're making me emotional. Yeah, we came up playing together. We started a band together. Man, we've been doing this for a long time together. So to have him, me and him grow up and do this thing together has been a crazy ride. Crazy ride. So very kind of him.
I like when you say that's my dog. You're my boy, Blue.
That's my boy Blue. Yeah, yeah. He and I really. I mean, Adam was really got me into. So I had my brother and my sister doing obviously all the grunge stuff, and I didn't really know pop punk music, and Adam was already listening to. Adam loved Green Day, and I remember Super Hits. They're like their compilation album when they had come out. Because we were in like grade 7 or grade 8, and he loved Green Day, and then he loved Blink 182, which is like he showed me Blink, and so through Adam I learned about all these like pop punk bands, and so if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even known any of those bands. And then we just really we're like, damn, this is so sick. And man, we were writing songs for as far back as I can remember, man, just sitting down and in his parents' basement or at my family's basement, and we would just hash out tunes. It's crazy to think that far back. So makes me feel a bit crazy.
So I have something that ties together that memory all the way to something that just happened in the last 48 hours. So you
Let's
guys,
go.
with the release of the brand new album, you just did a radio show. So you were on the radio for an interview, and I
Yeah.
believe you did a live performance. This was in Montreal, is that right? Or
Yeah, at Chaume, one of the biggest rock stations in Quebec. Yeah, love that place.
so what's cool is you guys posted a clip, and the start of the clip, they say that was Green Day, and now we have an interview here with Stuck on Planet
Yes.
Earth. So to
Yeah, yeah,
tie the love of Green Day into you guys
dude,
then being on the radio, them playing the song, you doing an interview, you playing live, I just thought that was a cool
dude.
segue between the two.
Yeah, it really was. And I mean that's always crazy to be on the radio and have Nirvana and then Stuck on Planet Earth or Green Day or any of these bands that were so formative for us as literally as kids, right? And to be on those rock stations is I can't even describe the feeling. It's crazy. It's really crazy. But also, I remember, just in the same thing, I remember Blink first came to Toronto. They were playing at the Molson Amphitheater, which is now whatever, RBC Amphitheater. And they came with Edge Fest 2, so Edge 1 and 2 throw a festival. And me and Adam walked in. We're with Adam's older brother because we were kids. And I remember on the side stage was Simple Plan, literally on this tiny little stage was Simple Plan. And I remember just watching them being like, fuck, these guys are this, there's going to be something here because they had a lot of buzz at the time. And then we go and Blink comes on stage, which they're huge at the time. They were going around touring with a fuck sign that was on fire. And being like a 12-year-old kid seeing a sign of fire that says fuck, and these guys coming up with so much just stupid jokes. And it felt it was a moment for us because we're like, oh man, this is a whole thing. This is a whole world, right? It was kind of like our aha moment of being like, damn, I want to do this. It was a special concert that literally lives rent free in my head. So it's yeah, it's crazy to think back to it.
I have another full circle moment for you. So you mentioned Simple Plan on
Okay,
a
let's
side
go.
stage. Okay, Simple Plan on a
Yeah.
side stage. So I did
Yeah.
an interview with Jeff Stinko from Simple Plan. They went on to sell 10 million albums. They're still playing arenas and stadiums now.
Yep.
And
Canadian legends. Yep.
we're going to talk about you signing a record deal. You guys also signed a booking agent deal with Packin, which is one of the biggest booking agencies in the world. And one of their other artists is Simple Plan.
Crazy.
So
Look
you're
at
on the
that.
same booking agency as Simple Plan. So, dude,
Cool.
all these
Awesome
bands you loved
connection.
as a kid, you are now in the roster with in the labels and the booking agencies. That's what I'm
It
talking about.
does. It doesn't feel real sometimes, man. Yeah, it's pretty awesome because we're music fans at the core. So it's like, to watch all these bands and all these inspirations, and then to have all these connections with them, it's amazing. Very grateful. Very grateful.
So you start on the bass and the guitar. When do you
Yeah.
start singing and songwriting? Usually it comes, once you get a little more efficient at your instrument, then you can expand. When I first started playing guitar, I saved up all summer as a kid to buy a microphone to be able to sing. I save up, I get the microphone, I set it up, and in that moment I realize I cannot sing and play guitar at the same time. It never occurred to me that I wouldn't be able to do both at the same time. So
You know what? It's funny you asked that. I was just talking to my brother-in-law the other day. He's like, I don't know how you sing and play, but me and Adam really started singing and playing right away. So I think we just trained, like we just literally sat down and started singing and playing because we were playing whatever, punk rock songs on the guitar. And, like When I Come Around or like, I don't know, Nimrod or like, What's My Age Again or like any of these like, Blink or Green Day songs. Um, and we just started singing and playing right away. Like we literally formed a band to play at our school rock night. And in fact, by the time high school finished, we had played our rock night like four times. We were like the band that had played it the longest. We were the youngest band to have played rock night, and then we closed out headlining in grade 12 playing rock night. So
you were the
it
elder statesman by the end of high school.
Yes, yeah, and to be honest with you, like in our very very first band called Expo, that's the band that we played with in high school. So it was me and Adam and another drummer at the time. But yeah, we started writing songs and playing right away out of necessity of having to play the rock night. So rock night kind of was like the thing that got us to be in a band. And I think, dude, like the show was like a month and a half away before we started the band in grade 7. So it's kind of crazy that we did it for that show. And we had a lot of balls, man. Like we were not taking no for an answer. Like we had to audition for the rock night, and then everyone's like, "All right, get these guys on it." They wanted it, and yeah, so that was sort of the reason why we put a whole band together. Yeah.
Even from a young age, you had those Italian cojones.
Yes. Yeah. Well, when you grow up watching like pop punk and punk rock culture and the I don't give a fuck attitude, and being that kid, and that's sort of the ethos that we had at the time. We just didn't fucking care. We didn't take no for an answer. We were influenced by the culture. We're mischievous boys. We're causing trouble and all the things that came along with listening to that music. So Adam brought up a word, tenacity. We had a lot of tenacity as 12-year-olds, and I think it honestly carries right through to now because when I think back at some of the things that we've done, and we're a lot of people probably look at us and think we're fucking crazy or something. So it's carried forward for sure.
I'm reading a personal growth book right now, and basically it says just perseverance alone can overcome like almost any other shortcoming. You just got to stick around long enough to still be there when the results are going to come in.
Ain't that true, man? I mean, we've certainly been around the block playing in a band. So, we often describe playing in a band as being on a roller coaster ride, and there's, high highs and low lows, man. And if you can get through the low lows, then at some point there's going to be a high. So, yeah, we've stayed on that roller coaster. We haven't gotten off.
When we scheduled this interview, I put out the bat signal to the Stuck on Planet Earth fans for fan questions. I got a bunch of
Oh
fan
man.
questions. I have them sprinkled
Okay.
out throughout the interview. And I have the
Okay.
first one here. So normally I would ask you, who were your biggest influences as a bass player, as a singer, as a
Mhm.
songwriter when you first started? When you looked at
Mhm.
them and said, man, if I practice the bass, I could be like Geddy Lee. If I practice my
Right.
vocals, I could be like Axl Rose. But we have a fan question that said, this is from Half Sinners. And the question is, who are your singing role models? So they're going to ask the question instead of me.
Okay, singing role model, like now, presently.
Well,
Um,
maybe let's say when you first started, and then you could share who now maybe inspires you.
Yeah, so when we first started the band, we were like, mini Blink 182. That was like the biggest shit. You could not escape it. It was especially big in the GTA and in Toronto. So that was like, Adam was singing and I was singing. So my guy was like Mark Hoppus. He played bass and he sang, and Adam was Tom DeLonge. We literally bought their, guitars. We had their signature models. So we learned everything from watching that band, and we really learned all of our two-man harmonies from Blink 182. That was who we looked up to exclusively, probably until like grade 10, I would say. And then we started, smoking a little bit of weed, our musical influences got a little, they changed up, a little more psychedelic. But at the beginning, it was really trying to emulate, the pop punk guys that we looked up to. And those guys were the kings at the time. So that was always the influence starting out as kids. Yeah. Now, man, I got to really think about that. So okay, I grew up loving pop and R&B music. I have talked about it many times. So, I still love like just belting in the shower some like Boys to Men, or like some classic Backstreet Boys or NSYNC, any of those stuff. I'm not afraid to say it. I loved that music growing up because it was such a big part of, my youth. So I really learned a lot of like that R&B pop sensibility. So I feel like that stuff carries over. And then like I think like maybe a decade ago I really got into Miguel. I thought he was a really great and amazing R&B singer that I really liked. Man, there's probably so many more that aren't coming to me. But I always like to mix this idea of like this pop sensibility with a rock and roll thing. So of course Dave Grohl for me is huge. Foo Fighters have been huge, the whole time. Really love Killing Joke, who I think influenced the Foos. And then, man, there's so many I'm probably not thinking of right now. But I always thought like if I could somehow mix this like pop sensibility, and that R&B sort of singing feel with the screamy rock stuff, that was always something that I wanted to do. And so I tried to be like, how could I do that? And that's sort of the wheelhouse that I tried to create for myself anyway. Yeah.
When I was 14, my family did a road trip out to Vancouver for a family reunion. I remember having a blue Sony Discman so you could play one CD at a time. And I remember before the road
Yes.
trip, we went into HMV and I had money for two albums, and that's all I could listen to for the trip.
Yeah.
And I remember I bought I Mother Earth, Blue, Green, Orange, and I bought Blink 182, Enema of the State. So for an entire, I don't know how long, 30 hours in the car. An album,
Mhm.
Blink albums are like 30 minutes. So in 30 to
Yeah.
45-minute increments, I just rotated Blink and I Mother Earth. So I have their music forever ingrained in my brain, in my memories.
Yes, yeah. And I had that blue disc man, by the way. Just thinking back to it. I had that go over a bump and it freaking skips. That used to suck. You scratch the CD. Yeah, that's awesome. Uh I should also mention a big influence because my brother was so heavy into them, and I still listen to them all the time, is Big Rec and Ian Thornley, for Canadian artists, man. I was really turned on to them. So I remember being a kid listening to Big Rec, and in particular, I remember like overemphasizing, which is an amazing song, and that song, and that's what it's called. That song, is it the Oaf? The Oaf, I
Yeah.
think is called. Man, just so some of that stuff was
And Blown Wide
really big.
Open, all from
Blown
this
wide
album
open.
here.
Yeah, all of it, dude. Yes, of course. Yeah, all of it was really big for me growing up because I would hear my brother play that stuff all the time.
Do you remember the first concert that you ever attended? So you mentioned later on you went to see Blink. Can you think of the first ever show? Sometimes it's your parents that drag you out to a concert that they want to see when you're young.
Honestly, dude, it might have been that Blink show. I don't really have like a crazy memory. I'm sure my parents took me to something as a kid, but nothing that really stuck with me at the time. So, Yeah, I think that like to me that was the earliest one. It's pretty cool first concert, I think, at like at 12 years old. But yeah, I don't think I did too many concerts before then. Yeah.
I have a silly fan question that I wanted to get into right off the bat. This is from
Oh
Billy
no.
Wild, and the question
Uh,
is, what is your hair and beard routine?
First of all, Billy's one of my best friends. He's an amazing artist. You should check him out. His name is Billy Wild. And he runs Division 88 in Toronto, which is an amazing DIY venue and space and production house. I love Billy. Of course, he asked me this question. Dude, just chugging olive oil all day. That's it. Just a little sip of olive oil. Maybe I'll take a bit of that olive oil, I'll grease back the hair, I'll throw it into the beard. Keep it going with olive oil.
That there you go. Take that to the bank. When you decided that you wanted to pursue a career in music, did you have to deal with any kind of resistance from friends or family? You know, they want what's best for you, but we fear what we don't understand. And most people don't understand music or the music industry. So they want what's best for you, but they also want you to have a safe, successful life. Did you have to deal with resistance at all?
I have to be honest, my mom and dad were very supportive as long as I kind of stayed in school and I didn't get into, the wrong thing or with the wrong crowd. So my promise to them was that I was gonna stay in school and go to university, etc. But dude, my dad was so supportive of my music and my mom was too. I think they just didn't want me to lose sight of other things in life. Because, between the ages of like 12 and 16, man, when we were just learning to write and go really deep into it, I was, locking my door to my room and just playing music all night, right? And so they saw how obsessive I had become about it. So, however, I think, in our really early days with our first band called Expo, we signed a small record deal with a record label in Nobleton, Ontario called Mushroom Productions. And me and Adam had this record called Prime. And I think, we had started playing like all these small shows in Toronto with a company called Supernova. So whether it was like the Rocket at the time or the Cathedral or the Reverb. We put out this record and it kind of did well on the scene for us. It was featured on like the punk show with Barry Taylor at the time on Edge 102, and we had made a name for ourselves. We were in the newspaper, all this. So I think like Adam, like our families saw that, oh, okay, like these guys are like trying to do something. This isn't just like some like little you know stoner project that they're like there was something more to it. There was a mission statement to it, which was, man, we were trying to be a band, we were trying to put ourselves out there. And I think that they recognized that hustle in us really young. And I think as parents they were like, okay, there's something here, this isn't just like for fun, like they want to do this. So yeah, we didn't deal with too much backlash. All of us, even Andrew, like all of our families were always so supportive. And still they come out to shows and still they, love the band and are always plugging the band. So we've been very lucky. I would say on the resistance side of thing, yeah, I've had relationships in the past where, it was, relationship ending, and certainly, fair share of sacrificing over the years, whether or not making family events or, birthdays or whatever it was. And that's it's a hard thing to it's a hard thing sometimes because people don't understand it, right? They're like, well, what is this thing? What is being in a band? They don't really get it. But the one thing the one thing we've been really good at is we wear blinders and we just stay in our lane and we just know what we want to do and what we got to do, and it's our life to live. And so music keeps us going.
Let's dive into your career with Stuck on Planet Earth. How did you meet the other members? So you've talked about Adam. You can talk about where Andrew comes into the picture. And where did
Yeah.
the idea of starting the band together come from? So it sounds like you and Adam were playing together. I guess let's talk about Andrew.
Yeah, so when we were 17, we parted ways with our first drummer, who I still talk to, who's excellent. He's still playing drums, a great drummer, great guy. Um, and I knew Andrew through the Supernova scene. So Supernova used to be this, pay to play basically, right? You got to
You had to
sell
sell
tickets
a
for
ton of
time
tickets. Yeah.
slot for all ages shows. But really, when I think about it, it was kind of this genius idea because it really developed a lot of musicians I still know in the Toronto music industry. They all came up through this sort of program. and Andrew was playing in a band with my cousin Adam, and they were in a band called Sound Method, and I know Sound Method had broken up, and there had just been this critical juncture in our career where we just, parted ways with our drummer. We're 17 years old, and we're like, man, like we really need a drummer. And Adam's like, dude, let me reach out to Andrew. He's awesome. And so I think he shot him like a Facebook message, and Andrew's like, yeah, come over to my parents' house. We'll rehearse in the basement. And when Andrew when Andrew entered the band, it was like just something had changed because he was so cut from the same cloth, same type of family. Also went to an all-boy Catholic school, had the same sort of history and background as us, had been playing, had know what it was like to play shows. Absolute killer drummer, could keep time like no other. We go to his basement and we're like surrounded by Blink. We're in like literally like 10 by 10 little fucking jam space in his parents' basement. God bless his parents because they had to hear us fucking jam so many times. You know, absolute sound bouncing everywhere, tiles on the ground. But Andrew's basement was so sick because he had like Blink posters and Green Day posters, and then he had like all this heavy shit that me and Adam were not into. Like he had like a Perfect Circle and Tool, and we're just like,
What a
man, this
great
guy had so many.
influence. What a great influence. Thank you,
Oh, dude,
Andrew.
Andrew was totally like definitely had a more broader horizon when it came to rock bands than me and Adam did. We weren't exposed to that stuff. So Andrew had like corn posters and like this kind of thing in his basement. And man, when we met Andrew, it was like it just clicked right away. Like it was like it just really worked almost instantaneously. Never felt weird. Never there was never like some moment of like, okay, we have to get used to this. It was like it just worked. We went, it happened, and dude, we used to rehearse in his parents' basement probably 2 days a week after school. And man, it just really clicked with him. It felt really, really natural as soon as he came in the band, and man, we haven't looked back. So Andrew's been here. No, Adam, I was like 13, 12, 13. Andrew 17, so not that much time. And he was he was a very impressive drummer at the time. We didn't know a drummer who could play like him. He really hit the drums really hard, and yeah.
He completed the Holy Trinity.
He completed the triple A Trinity, because yeah, which was also crazy. So he completed the Trinity for sure.
For our listeners that tune in to every single interview, regardless of who the guest is, how do you describe the band sound? I know it's the hardest thing to do for a band, but how would you describe the sound? And then once you describe it, we'll send them off to listen to the new album.
Yeah, I mean, it is a hard question because I'm in the band and sometimes I don't even know how to describe it. Well, I would say it's rooted in alternative rock and rock music. And I would say that it's melodic, but it's punchy, it's energetic, and it's dynamic. And when I say dynamic, I mean what I really love and what we've been talking about when we've been, driving out to shows is there's so much to offer in our set list, whether it's like high energy, fast songs, mid tempo, or slow tempo. Like I feel like if you're just a music fan or a rock music fan, you may not like the fast song, but you might like the slow song. And I think our band has been really good at delivering this dynamic sort of, this um, dynamic songwriting, I guess, because I feel like we've got it all in there. So if you come watch the band, it's a lot of fun. The energy is always high. Um, I think we're a pretty punchy band live, and I think we are there to entertain. It's not for anything else but sheer entertainment when we're on stage.
We have a fan question about the story behind the band name. This is from Evelyn Withrow. The question is, I was wondering about the band's name, Stuck on Planet Earth. Does that speak to you guys believing that there might be other civilizations out there besides humans? Or does the name possibly speak to the limitations of the human condition?
Well, first of all,
Or are we thinking too deeply into this?
no, you're not thinking deeply at all. When we started the band, we had come from such a short name called Expo. And then when we changed, we're like, we need a name that's like, at the time, all the bands were so big. So we're like, we definitely don't want to be a the band. And then also, later on, everyone was dropping vowels from their names. Like, we don't want that. We want a statement. We want something that feels really true, and that, when you say it, it just hits you. It's guttural. And so, yeah, we came up with "Stuck on Planet Earth," and man, doesn't that statement feel truer as time goes on? On a whole other side note, I am a bit of a UFO UAP nut, but we don't need to go into all that. But me personally, have been deep researching that stuff since, and have been very interested in that topic since probably for like 15 years now. So that brings a whole other side to the question in, and yeah, maybe a conversation for another day.
That's for a different 2 hour podcast.
That's a
If
totally different 2 hour podcast. Yeah.
if we ever colonize Mars and we're living on Earth and Mars, will you have to rename the band to the band formerly known as Stuck on Planet Earth?
Yeah, I think so. I think that makes the most sense for sure. Yeah.
Do you remember the first show you guys ever played as a band? You talked about a backpack tour, playing at
Yeah.
school, different things.
Yeah, the first show with Andrew was at a place called the 360, I believe, and that was on Queen Street West in Toronto. And or wait, was it the you know what? With Andrew, it wasn't the 360, it was the Fun House, which was like an upstairs place across from the Reverb. And yeah, I think we had a pretty good little crowd. We definitely didn't play to the floor that night. Um, and that's sort of, yeah, that's where the for sure where the first show with Andrew was, and that venue definitely doesn't exist anymore. But I remember just like, again, playing with Andrew live, it really felt like it clicked for us.
Do you remember the first time you heard the band's music on the radio? So you guys were getting radio play long before you signed your record deal.
Yeah. Yeah, we were getting a lot of radio play in Canada. Yes, of course, I remember the first time. It would have been on. It would have been on Edge 102's. I don't know if it was called the Indie Hour or what it was, like a Sunday night late programming show, and they played our song Stampede. I think Dave Bookman at the time also played Stampede one time, and then George Strombo. So yeah, like early days. Yeah, that was obviously an amazing, amazing feeling. Yeah.
The Edge is one of the biggest radio stations in Canada, so for that to be the first station that plays your music is pretty incredible.
Well, we were relentless. I think I was like busting their chops and sending them emails like every other day. Like, can you play the song? Can you play the song? Can you play the song? And back in the day, Edge 102 had their studio on Yonge Street, right? So you could walk right into their studio, and then they had like an indie night, and they invited us to come and play inside Edge 102 Studios, which actually makes a clip. There's a clip of our one of our latest music videos, Highway Song, is from that performance there, and yeah, it was great. They were so into developing bands at the time, and man, that really helped us get more shows because we had this like, thing that we played at the Edge, and that was kind of like a big deal for being pretty young. So,
In 2018, you guys signed with the iconic record label Anthem Records. This
mhm.
is like the home of Rush. Like this label was created, associated with Rush. How
Yeah.
did you attract the attention of Anthem Records? And what did it mean to you to be a part of a roster that includes Rush and a bunch of other? I think there's, Bare Naked Ladies frontmans on there. There's like a bunch of amazing artists on this label.
Yeah. So basically, right before 2018, around 2017, we had recorded a whole album that never saw the light of day. And it didn't sound that great. And we weren't really happy with it. It was with a different producer. And we're like, man, it was a dire time for us. We had sort of hit the wall independently because, we had a number one in Canada independently. We owned the master recording. We had our own publishing, and it was like we were getting played on satellite radio, we were getting played on radio, and at some point it kind of just dried up. Like satellite really changed their formatting, radio sort of started to change, and we're like, man, we're really like, what we didn't know what to do. The only option for us was to try to go out and get a record deal. But that also seemed like, when you're an independent band, that seems like a mountain to climb, right? You're like, how do you even do that, and we were touring relentlessly as a DIY indie band, just trying to get out there in front of audiences in the States and in Canada. And I remember, at the time, a childhood buddy of ours, who's Steve Malella, who is the drummer of Finger Eleven. Um, he uh, was just starting to really get into production, and he had come from LA and working with Arnold Lanni. If you know, Arnold Lanni does all the Our Lady Peace stuff, all the Finger Eleven stuff,
Simple
and
Plan
Simple
as
Plan.
well.
Yeah,
Yep.
so much more. So Steve really trained under Arnold, and he like learned so much. And then he had come home, and he was like producing a couple records, but he's like, man, got to get you guys in the studio, got to get you in the studio. So we're like, all right, let's do it. And my brother had known Steve. They kind of were in the same circles, and my sister knew Steve's older brother. And there was just like, he's a Woodbridge guy, like kind of from the same neighborhood, again, cut from the same cloth. And he's like, come by the studio. So we're like, okay, go by the studio. We start demoing out some songs. And I had this old song with the band called Permanent, probably since 2012. And I always had the verse, always had you feel better close to me. I always had that part, but we couldn't figure out the song. And we're like, man, let's bring this one to Steve. So, of course, we bring it to Steve, and Steve's an amazing songwriter. And we wrote the chorus with him. And then we recorded this song, and we had this demo, and we're like, fuck, this sounds really fucking good. And it sounded fresh and polished and so different than anything we had done as an independent band. And then I think we recorded like Higher Than the Drugs, like a version of that. And I'm trying to remember what the third song was. I can't remember it right now. But Permanent was the one that Steve knew someone at Anthem who was looking, and albeit through another guy from Vaughn named Adrian Battison, who was working at Anthem, and he heard the demo and goes, damn, we're looking to sign some action now. Let me take this up to the CEO of the company. And then like about a week and a half later, after we had shown Permanent, they said, hey, we want to bring you into the office for a meeting. So we went up to the Anthem offices, and they offered us a record deal. And it was because of Permanent. It was because of that recording and the feel. And so yeah, man, I mean, looking back at that now, it's like Steve really helped develop our band, and really he really championed us. So we went in, signed the deal with Anthem, and then there was no looking back after that.
So I want to dive into your debut album on Anthem Records, so Beautiful Nowhere from 2020. But before I dive into that record, I would not be doing my job if I didn't reach out to one Steve Moe, who you've been
Mm,
talking about, Finger 11 drummer, amazing
yes.
producer and songwriter. And this is what Steve Moe has to say. He must like you because he wrote quite a bit here. So he says, Al and I have known each other for more than half of our lives. His band
Yeah.
opened for mine when we were teenagers. They were called
Yeah.
Expo at the time. It's amazing to see a band of brothers like that stick together and consistently put out awesome music over the years. Longevity is the name of the game in this business, and they've proven that. I had the pleasure of working with Stuck on Planet Earth a few years ago, and it was a great experience. Al is a powerhouse singer, and it really shines through in that body of work. I specifically remember a session that we had asking for him to do something over and over again. It led him to throwing his headphones and exiting the vocal booth in anger. Maybe a bit of that was directed towards me, but I think a lot of it had to do with him being upset with himself that he wasn't getting it. He came back after taking a few minutes and he nailed it as I expected he would. That's just who he is. He's hypercritical of himself and will stop at nothing to deliver. It's something I've always had a ton of respect for. I wish him and the boys nothing but success with the new music. That's from Steve Moe, Finger 11 drummer.
Dude, love him, love him. I get emotional. I'm a little baby when I hear this stuff. Steve is a brother, dude. He really believed in us when we didn't have anywhere to go. We didn't know what to do. Like I said, we had hit the end of the road with our band. We had taken our band as far as we could independently, and he kind of came in, and dude, he did everything on spec, meaning that he did all those early recordings for free because he really believed in the band. And yeah, listen, Steve taught me so much about my voice, so much about vocal control. He was such a great vocal coach in that booth with me on Beautiful Nowhere. And those are skills. And he always said, like, these are the tools you're going to take into the future. That shit is real, dude. Like, I took all of what I learned on that record and carried it forward with Stuck. So Steve is an incredible producer, and he really got he really got something out of us on that album, which is why I think it still stands up all these years later.
The album came out June 26th of 2020. It debuted in the top 4 on the Canadian digital album charts. It was streamed
Mhm.
over 10 million times globally. It produced 5 top 20 singles on the Canadian Billboard Rock charts. They stayed on the charts for 10 consecutive weeks. When you think back to this album, what thoughts, memories, emotions come back to you now with this album that really kickstarted the journey that you've been on since then?
Man, well, we released there was so much leading into that album because we took a while to record it. And at the time, there were so many changes happening within Anthem. We had worked with so many teams of people at that time. By the time that the album came out, we were so ready to go. And of course, COVID happens. And right as we're just like climbing, right as we're getting onto radio, right as things are really moving in the right direction, about to announce a North American tour with another big rock band that we were going to support. Um, we got decimated by COVID, like literally, like a million other artists at that time. But it really did mess us up, because we had to work extra hard to do everything we could to put the record in front of people without getting to play live. And so, we friggin' dude, we did so many live streams. I was live streaming every night on our Stuck on Planet Earth Instagram account, doing like a live show, as being like a host, like just trying to put ourselves in front of people when it was really, really hard to, because we're the type of band that we go on tour, we show up in town, we go play a song acoustically at the radio station, we hang out, we meet fans who are there to watch us, then we play the show. And like for us, it's this whole thing outside of music. It's the live show that we want people to see because that's where we really turn heads. So when I think about that record, it was like so difficult to do all of that. And so it was we had to try to do all of these other things, and that's where honestly we had to put on the social media hat, and that's where we did grow a lot of followers during that time, because we were just like, man, we got to be relentless, we got to put ourselves out there, we got to be on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, whatever we had to do to be the dancing monkeys. That's what we tried to do during that time. So yeah, it was a weird time for us to be putting out a debut record. However, on the other end of it, it was so well received. So many, yeah, like the songs that radio did well and did some walking, and I felt like that was the first time. Yeah, we were a band from earlier, but that was the first time that people really knew who the band was. That's when we really started to turn heads. That's when people started to like sort of pique interest at who Stuck on Planet Earth was. And I think back to that time in particular, and I'm just like, man, we really got through it with with the tools we had, which was just again that tenacity, like when we had when we were kids, just put ourselves on Instagram and try to make the most out of something that we couldn't control.
Was it cathartic releasing something positive during such uncertain and negative times?
It was cathartic. It felt like it had been a while. Yeah, it was totally cathartic. But at the same time, it was nerve-wracking, right? You hear all of these horror stories about being on a record label or being shelved or, being dropped as soon as the record comes out. Like all of these things that can happen, right? So you can't help but this stuff does run in your head, and sort of as like a brand new band to people, or a developing act, whatever you want it to call us. You have to give it the fighting chance. So it was cathartic, but we were also fighting for our lives at the time, man. We really had to prove ourselves in any which way we can. Not to mention that we did all this live streaming only to be dropped by our agent shortly thereafter, and only to, fast forward a couple, maybe just coming out of COVID, having to fire our management. So, COVID, it really, it really did show it did really show our perseverance during that time, because so much had happened, and man, we just stuck to it. So when I think about that time, it was really nice, but it was also really nerve-wracking because it felt like we had to prove ourselves without being able to play live shows.
Did the 2 years of lockdowns where you couldn't play any concerts, did those years make you appreciate all the shows you've done since then?
Dude, 100%. In fact, during that time, we did get to play one show. So bizarre, but I'm so happy we experienced it. We played it like somewhere on Lakeshore in Toronto. We got to open for Big Wreck, which was a full circle moment for me and the guys. And we played at like the RBC outdoor stage to a bunch of cars honking, watching in their cars. And I'm like such a weird thing to think about now, but also it was really good to see like okay, like we were still getting some opportunities because we had been, like I said, putting ourselves out there relentlessly, just trying to get in front of people as much as we could. So we did play this show to a parking lot of cars.
If a car honks not once, not twice, but thrice, is that considered a standing ovation?
Dude, we walked onto stage and it was like all honks. It was crazy, like a full parking lot of cars. I don't even know, at least like 200 cars in this lot. That was a crazy friggin' feeling, man. Yeah, that was different and like such a bizarre experience, but like when we look back at it, I'm like, man, I'm so happy we got to experience that because no, a lot of bands didn't get to play during that time. So thanks to Big Rec for taking us out on that one.
We have a couple questions from Paulina F. She says,
Yeah.
let's take a trip down memory lane. Since the
Okay.
band first started, what have been some of the top moments that you three have experienced together? Anything stand out?
Top moments that we've experienced together. Yeah, I'd say driving around in a van across North America a few times, independently, without an agent, without any help, and literally, you know, sleeping on floors wherever we could. Um, when I think back to that time in our band, and I know Adam and Andrew would say the same thing, like, dude, nothing better than that. That was like just us doing it. Sometimes playing to the floor, sometimes playing to a packed house, sometimes playing to like 30 or 40 people. But we just really wanted to get out there and do it. So like thinking back to a couple of those tours, especially down into the States and especially down into the Southwest of the States, um, it was the best, dude. It was like just like feeling so free and feeling so alive and being able to just like live out our dreams and to have self-booked it and done it all independently. That for sure is a top moment, but that's like a couple all into one. But those tours, those early tours, really bring something to life. I'd say another one was probably signing the record deal because it felt like we had come such a long way as an independent band. Built up our own fan base, really tried to put ourselves in front of people. And so to sign the record deal after all of this time had passed, and sometimes playing the floor and um, eating shit, so to speak, a lot. That was a really nice moment for us to feel validated that we're like, okay, we're doing this thing for real. So that another top moment. Yeah, I would say making this latest album has been a top moment for us because we we were going back and forth between Nashville and we were really like trying to lean on each other to make this album. And so we had to learn a lot. We had to be self-sufficient in a way that we hadn't. So yeah, those are some that come to mind.
When you talked about the signing of the record deal, was it like we see in the movies where you're in a boardroom, you're signing something at a table, you shake hands at the end and you take a group picture?
1,000,000%. That's exactly how it was. And I know a lot of record deal signings aren't, but ours was literally that. That day they were presenting us at Anthem for one of their quarterly parties. We got upstage and we played a permanent acoustic. They announced the signing of the band, and then we went into a boardroom and yeah, we did the whole thing. We signed the deal in the boardroom, and yeah, it totally was like a movie moment for sure. Yeah.
You talked about memorable moments on the road as an independent band. Back in my early 20s when I was touring, I remember we were touring across Canada in a car with a trailer in the middle of winter. And we were
Yeah.
from Ottawa. And I remember there was a
Yeah.
night in Toronto. We played the Toronto gig and we decided, you know what, let's save money tonight. Let's just sleep in the car. It's the middle of winter, but whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember let's say it's midnight. We're all in the car in a car, not even in a van. We're in sleeping bags in our seats. Like I'm at the
Yeah.
I'm at the wheel in a sleeping bag. And I remember I have a water bottle, and I take some water, put it down, go to sleep. I wake up in the middle of the night and I go to take another sip, and my water bottle is frozen solid. And I remember thinking, man, our human bodies are mostly made of that same stuff. I wonder how close my body is to just being an ice cube like that. And we thought, okay, maybe we'll get a hotel.
What was your band called?
We were called Distant Society. So it kind of sounds like Stuck on
Nice.
Planet Earth, a
There you
distant
go.
society.
A little dystopian. I love
We
it.
should have
Hey
toured
man,
together back in the day. We just didn't
yeah,
know.
we've slept on many a floors, yeah, you name it, and in some pretty questionable places, that is for sure. But you know what? Some of our favorite stories that we tell, especially when we're on tour now and we're just like laughing, we just reminisce about all of these crazy places that we've been and floors we've slept on. Being in a band is definitely not glamorous, right? Everyone's like, "Oh, it looks amazing," and I don't need to tell you that it's not that glamorous sometimes. And so those are the types of stories that really build character, and we still recall these stories and we still laugh about like just ridiculous things that have happened as crashing on some of these floors. There's a couple that really come to mind. So it's like, man, yeah.
As I do these interviews, it unlocks these memories from my time doing
Yes.
music that I haven't thought about in years. And you just reminded me of a memory I haven't had in 20 years where again, we were touring Canada. We ended up in Windsor, which is like not safe,
Yeah.
some places of Windsor.
Yeah.
And again, we never had anywhere to stay. Like we would stay with fans. We would stay, someone random person at the show's like, oh, you could sleep at our place. We're like, okay, just trusting everybody. And I remember one night in Windsor, we parked the car and the trailer and we get up in their place and you could see through the window, you could see the car and the trailer. And I remember
Right.
asking the host, hey, is it cool if we park right there where we're parked? And they go, no, not that place. Last night, the car got broken into in the spot you're in. So maybe like one or two spots over. We're like, oh my God. So he moved the car over. And the whole night, the other band members slept. And I was just at the window, just looking at the,
Oh
the
my
vehicle.
gosh. Dude. Yeah, you know what? It's a grind out there, isn't it? Right? Just be a watchdog over your equipment. Yeah. We've definitely
And every
done
win that
that.
you had on the road, there'd be a loss. You'd have one good
Yes.
show, and then you'd
Yes.
get out to your vehicle, and someone had broken the side mirror, and you're like, that's going to cost
Yes.
more than I made this show. Or we would pull up and put on the four ways just to load out the gear for 2 minutes for sound check. We'd get back to the car, and there'd be $150 ticket. Like the guy had to be watching us leave and come back because we weren't more than 2 minutes. And again, we're like, man, we're gonna lose money on this show just from that ticket. It's so
Yeah.
heartbreaking. So I understand the
Yeah.
perseverance and why that's important.
Yeah, it really is. Luckily, we never, I mean, knock on wood, we've never had anything broken into or stolen, but we've been very like crazy about that. Like if we're on tour and we're like in a bit of a shoddy area and we're at a hotel or Airbnb, we will literally be the guys that bring everything inside at this point. But back in the day, for sure, while we were sleeping on floors and stuff, like one guy's sleeping out in the van and the other two guys are getting rest and you're taking shifts. So yeah, I mean, but like these are the things that build the character, right? It really does. It really weeds out who's meant to be here versus who's not because 90% of people are running. You know what I mean? 90. You have to be really fucking crazy to be like, no, I'm gonna stay.
We
You
had
know?
3 tours in a row where we just started to get out of Ottawa. We're on the highway and an 18 wheeler's in front and it goes a
Yeah.
little off the road and shoots rocks and cracks the windshield. We had 3 tours in a
Oh
row
goodness.
where our windshield got cracked because we were behind 18 wheelers that were tossing rocks at the window. We're like, is this a sign? Like we just have to pack it
Yeah.
up, I think.
Yeah, that's like some Final Destination shit. Um, Dude, there were so many drives in those early days. Like, I'll never forget one time we played South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, and we had to be home. I literally think within 24 hours in Toronto to play a show, opening for some other like band. And I remember we had to like make a straight drive up from frickin' Austin, 24 hours to Toronto, and we did it. And we did it, and we were delirious and crazy, and it was probably so unsafe because of how tired we were. And we're just like, knuckle gripping the freaking wheel trying to get back,
Just
but
coffee and Red Bull and
coffee and Red Bull and just trying to get back. Yeah. So I mean, yes, crazy stuff.
Paulina F, who asked about the top moments as a band. She must be Italian
Yeah.
because she has one more question. She goes, does the pasta shape change the taste?
I don't know how to answer that. First of all, Paulina is one of our biggest fans. Big shout out to Paulina. She's been to over 100 Stuck shows. She's been with us since very early days. We love her dearly, and she has been such a big supporter of this band. And it's so awesome to have people that care this much. So shout out to Paulina. Does pasta change? No, dude, I don't think so. Is there like science behind this? Do I need to? I don't know the answer to this.
I'm asking the expert. You're the expert.
Dude, I am not the expert. No, that's not a question for me. I just like to eat the pasta.
That's awesome. So I have one more fan question, and then I want to dive into specific songs from that album.
Okay.
We have a question
Okay.
from NXSM on Instagram who asks, "What inspires you?" So a very broad question.
What inspires me? Man, obviously other artists and music. I love visual art. I feel like that's always inspiring. Um, dude, like all art inspires me. I don't even know how to answer that. It's like there's so much I'll watch a movie and it'll inspire me, or I'll listen to some music and it'll inspire me. Yeah, it's such a broad question. I think um I don't know how else to answer that. I just
Pasta,
really
just inspired by pasta.
pasta. Yeah, no, like all art, honest to God, whether it's like visual art or it's what I guess movies visual art, but like movies or music, that has always been really cool. And oh, you know what? I'll say this. You know what really always inspires me in the last like 15 years? I've been sort of obsessive about, and I guess I've been into this for a while now, and I try to sort of steer the band aesthetically at times into this is I love 1950s rock and roll. Really early days of rock and roll. The music history is really always really inspiring. But for some reason, I always kind of come back to two things. I always come back to um, always around like the holidays. I always kind of come back to the Beatles around the holidays. I don't know why, but I just do. I always go back to the Beatles, whether it's like their anthology or like listening to the records at that time or like sitting down and playing guitar to the Beatles or like 1950s rock and roll, like whether it's, Fats Domino, Chuck Berry, or Elvis Presley. I don't know what it is about the era. I think it's so simple, the music. I think it's so I think it's also so stylistically and aesthetically cool. All the look of it, like the diners and the slicked hair and the leather jackets, the greaser look, like that stuff that I've always found. I always come back to that. I don't know why I'm really, really drawn to that specific time period of the birth of rock and roll, really. So that's a big one for sure.
The song I Want It Now from the Beautiful Nowhere album, there's a really cool acoustic guitar riff that starts off that song. Has this ever been played around a campfire? Because I feel like that would be a cool song to play. And if not, is it possible that someday Stuck on Planet Earth does a campfire session concert that people could come out to?
Well, listen, we are no strangers to playing acoustically. We love to play acoustically. I really think our band shines when we play acoustically because we write most of our songs stripped down with the acoustic. So, no, has I Wanted Now been played around a fire? The campfire, I don't think so. Maybe Adam has played it, but we certainly love acoustic music. That's something that we all share. So, yeah.
When you're playing live and you bust into the songs Rising, Permanent, Higher Than the Drugs, and Serotonin, do the people start to cut a rug? Do they start to shake their tail feather? Do people dance when you play those four songs?
Yes. Yes, in particular. So Serotonin, we don't play live too much anymore because we've got other songs. And that's like a weird one for us because it's almost a little too dancey, but that was like an experiment on that album. Like a lot of pop sensibility in that one. Rising is a mainstay for us. I Want It Now is a mainstay for us. A Permanent is a mainstay for us. And Higher Than the Drugs. Yes, we play all those songs, and people 1000% dance, which is the best feeling to see people like rocking out and having a good time and making them forget about wherever they were dealing with in that day, whatever they're dealing with in that day.
What's cool is your crowds can go from dancing in one song to moshing in another song because you have some choruses that hit pretty heavy.
Yeah, I mean that, and that's what I was talking about, the dynamic kind of thing. That's what I love about the band is that there's kind of something in it for everybody, you know, and I think that's why we do have a very eclectic fan base, and I think it's wide ranging. It's not just like one group of people. I think it's a lot of different types of people, and it's beautiful like it's beautiful to see how music connects with people. And brings people together. I think that's the coolest shit ever.
So there's actually a third option. So fans can either dance to some songs, they can
Yeah,
mosh to some songs, but then when you play songs like Just to Have You, they can make out as well, right? A good ballad.
dude, that one's been used in weddings a bunch. I think we just found out it's getting licensed recently to like some sort of TV show where there's a romance scene. We haven't heard much about that, but yeah, like that's coming up. Yeah, that's been used in a bunch of weddings actually. So I mean, that's amazing. That song in particular, I sort of had the chorus on an old demo and I brought to the guys and we were with Steve and we really worked it. But that one was like totally out of our comfort zone. That's like a real pop ballad. Um, but Steve really made us feel comfortable in making that song. He's like, dude, we gotta wear all the colors. We gotta be all the flavors here. So that one was definitely out of our comfort zone. It still is when I listen back to it. I'm like, damn, like that's a real bona fide pop song. But it's beautiful. And the fact that it connects with people and they're using it at their weddings, man, like, damn, that's an amazing feeling.
Is it the ultimate honor that people choose one of your songs for the most important day of their lives, essentially?
Yes, 1000%. Yes, 1000%. That's a very big honor that, you know, we've made that kind of impact on somebody or their relationship. That's a beautiful thing.
The options are either that song, The Police, Every Breath You Take, or Ed
Yeah.
Sheeran, Thinking Out Loud. So
Well, all right. Well, we'll put our song in there with those amazing heavy hitters. But yeah, that's flattering. Thank you.
this episode has been brought to you by the Women in the Music Industry podcast. It's hosted by music producer Rob Wells, who has worked with global superstars like Justin Bieber, Ariana Grande, and Selena Gomez. Through his 1 hour interviews, he shines a spotlight on the remarkable women who are breaking barriers and making their mark in the music industry. Some of his notable guests include Morgan Lander of the multi-million selling metal band Kitty, and Pam Shane, who co-wrote Genie in a Bottle for Christina Aguilera. If you're a fan of the Joel Martin Mastery podcast, you'll love the Women in the Music Industry podcast, which is available on all platforms. The songs Rising and Animals have really tasty bass playing. Do you remember coming up with those riffs for those two songs, Rising and Animals?
We probably came up with them together. Like it would have been like, so Adam's a really good bass player, and so is Steve. So we probably sat around coming with those bass parts together. Like I love playing bass guitar. I love playing bass in the band, but I would never say that I'm like an incredible bass player. I think I'm a melodic bass player. I think I can hold down the bass really well and play it. But when it comes to like coming up with sort of complicated parts, my focus was always really on the vocals. That's always like, how can I deliver the best vocal performance and be emotional? So with those songs, I think we came up with that stuff as a team, and then like you know, I sat to play it. But especially on that record, it was like a team effort for all of those parts, with all the guitar, with all the bass. We kind of like sat in there and we workshopped it together.
Do you think being a fan of the Beatles plays into you being a melodic bass player that sings as well, like the Paul McCartney effect, essentially?
Well, dude, Paul McCartney is a crazy bass player, but being a fan of the Beatles has definitely helped with songwriting, and it's definitely helped with harmonies, and like just bringing full circle back to talking about those early days of rock and roll. Like my favorite Beatles records were always like the earlier stuff. So like, you know, Please Please Me or, you know, With the Beatles, like maybe a little bit of Rubber Soul later, but that those early records where they really shine through with their writing. Um, yeah, huge influence. And I grew up with like my dad was always playing that stuff. So like, I got used to understanding, the pop sensibility that they brought and also the harmonies that they were all singing together and especially John and Paul together. So like I said, I come back to the Beatles every year, all the time. It's just like it's been a constant in my life, and it's been something that, okay, fine, it's the cliche, but I mean, you can see I've got the picture here in my room, but great music is great music. I don't care how cliche it is. They're the best band of all time, in my opinion.
In preparation for this interview, I went back, I listened to your entire discography and with a
Okay.
good pair of headphones, so I'm ready for this. And when I got to the song Ghosts on the Radio, so before I listen to the song, just the title, sometimes a song starts with a great title and then you can build a song
Okay.
around it. So when I saw the title, I'm going to share what came to mind and then you can tell me what the song's actually about. So, Ghosts on the Radio for me, I thought, oh, that's cool. And it painted this picture and this story that if you're listening to the radio and it's a song by someone that's passed away, like let's say it's Nirvana playing or Linkin
Yeah.
Park with Chester or older artists that aren't still alive, essentially you're listening to ghosts on the radio. Like they're no longer around, but you're still hearing the voice of someone that's very much alive there. That's what came to mind just with the title. For you, what is Ghosts on the Radio about?
Dude, that is so spot on. Coming back again to like my childhood acting days, I was once in a play by this Italian playwright. The play's from like 1921. It's called Six Characters in Search of an Author, and the concept of the play is that these characters come to life. This author can't finish the play, and these characters come to life, and they sort of speak to him, and it's kind of a bit of like it's a very dramatic play. But the idea, I guess, that's constant is that art lives on forever, and I always have been attracted to that concept, and maybe it's a bit morbid. But that's the reality, man. You can't take anything with you when you leave. So what you can leave behind is art. And to me, I don't know, dude, that's always been such a big motivator and driving force is like what can I say or what can I do while I'm here and how does that echo on? And so, Ghost on the Radio is exactly about that. It's exactly about these people that we still hear on the radio right now today, that aren't with us, but their influence has been so huge and their art has been so impactful. And that concept is just something that I don't know, I've just always been really drawn to. Um, yeah, without being too like morbid.
I remember seeing a viral video. It was something like go and watch this movie, and it was an old movie, let's say Gone with the Wind or something.
Okay.
And it says if you want to be sad, watch this movie and then remember that everyone in this movie is no longer alive. Like it's so old that so many
Yeah.
years have passed that every
Yeah.
single very much alive person in this movie is no longer with us. And you're like, wow, okay, that does make me sad.
It does, and but it's also beautiful at the same time. Like you're watching something that these people, put their blood and sweat and tears into to create, so that it could give to the future. It's kind of yeah, it's a crazy concept, and it's something that I honestly like. I don't know. I probably think about more than I should.
I wanted to talk to you about the song Skin Talk, but sir, my
Okay.
girlfriend might be watching this interview and the
Oh
song is
no.
just too sexy, too smooth. I'm joking, I don't have a girlfriend, but is this a
Okay.
song where is this the song where when you play live, the bras get thrown on stage, the panties get thrown on stage? Anyways, when you recorded this song, were you picturing whispering sweet nothings into the ear of a beautiful lady? Anyways, I'm just joking, but this
You
song
know
is pretty
what?
sexy.
Yeah, it is a sexy song, and I'll never, at one point in our careers, there was someone that had passed through a record label that had worked there for a time, and I remember that she told me that I wasn't sexy enough to sing that song. And I was like, what the fuck? That kind of pissed me off. And I think humans have so many different sides to them and different emotions. And if I want to fucking sing a sexy song, I'm going to sing a sexy fucking song. And that one really came from Adam and Andrew helping, because I would never consider myself to be some like some Romeo kind of dude. That's not my vibe. But you know, um, the song had a fucking vibe to it. And as soon as the fucking bass kicks in and there's like the clav org and there's just the rhythm that Andrew's playing and the guitar, like it all works together that, you know, it makes you feel something and it makes you feel a certain way. And that's the way that it felt when we were writing the song. And I'm happy that we stood our ground and we ended up putting that out and it did connect with a bunch of people. And hey man, if it turns people on, that's the point of that one. So I'm happy that it works.
And it ended up in the show for Netflix.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so screw you, lady who didn't want that song. I'm a Netflix star now because of that song.
Yeah, yeah.
So in 2023, you guys released the 4-song EP, the semi-stable EP.
Yes.
Where did the decision come from to do an EP instead of a full length?
Oh, you know what? We were trying to bridge the gap between what would be our second album that was just released, and we needed to keep the momentum going. And like I said, at that time, we had been freshly dropped by our agent. We were dealing with some issues with our old manager, and we wanted to keep the ball rolling. Like, okay, we were in COVID, but Beautiful Nowhere, oddly enough, had a lot of momentum behind it for a band that couldn't play live. And so we wanted to sort of come out of that period and have something to go right away. And we had a bunch of songs we had already worked on with Steve that were, maybe going to be on Beautiful Nowhere. Like, so Semi Stable was one of them for sure. And then we started working on all these tunes, and we had Strange that, like, we were kind of speaking about the times that we had to deal with being in a band, and then really the one that I think did the most walking for us and really showed a deeper side of the band was Cracking the Glass. That's one that's still given to us every day right now. And to see even people really relating to it now, like we had a couple Instagram reels like pop off and on TikTok and all this stuff, and it's all coming back to that song. It really carried us through a period where we were basically rebuilding, and we just didn't want to rebuild with nothing and disappear. We needed to still be forward facing and show our fans that, like, hey man, we're still here, we're figuring things out, but we need something to bide our time. And so that EP was a big part of that.
The song Crack in the Glass has great harmonies. Has hearing harmonies and singing harmonies always come easy to you, or is that something you've had to work with?
No, dude, me and Adam, like I said, when we started our band when we were like 12, 13, we've been singing harmonies since literally the beginning of time. So me and him were always doing that. We were always harmonying. In fact, when we were like, get stoned and like in his car or in my car in high school, and we'd put on records that had no harmonies, we would be in the car singing the harmonies. Like that's the shit that we loved. Yeah, that's one that really displays the harmonies beautifully, and Adam's voice in that one's really prominent. And so he does a beautiful job in that one. But yeah, harmonies have been something that we has been a forte for our band. Yeah.
When writing, recording, and releasing this EP, this is in 2023, were you still dealing with the pandemic at that point, or were we past
Yeah.
that?
No, no, because it was sort of recorded on the outs of the pandemic, and we were still, like I said, man, like there was a period where we couldn't play shows. Like we couldn't get shows. We were in this weird phase of like, okay, do we go back to booking our own shows? We had got dropped by our agent, which was very deflating considering how much we were doing during the pandemic with streaming and stuff. So we were feeling, I mean, I guess we've never really come out here and said this, but we were feeling really deflated at that time, man. Like there was a lot of shit going on during that time, and like it was really hard to be like, how are we going to continue to do this if we don't have an agent back? And are we just going to get back in a van and do it the old school way? But like also we had felt like we had graduated from that, so it was like a weird moment to be like, well, what's the play right now? So honestly, we just didn't play a lot of shows during that time. And but the demand was growing. Like there were so many people online, like, when's the show, when's the show, when's the show? And it really it really, I mean, I can honestly say until the last like maybe 6 months to a year that we finally like persevered to make it out of this really hard time for this band, which is sort of where the new record was born out of. But man, during that time, it was more of like a stopgap to be able to like put out music and still have people interested in the band and still be like, okay, these guys are sticking around because as we know, in in a world of music now where everything is so curated for everybody, everyone listens to their own playlist, everyone watches their own TV show. Like there's a million things that you're competing with at all times. Staying top of mind and showing your fans that you're still there, that have followed along, it's kind of hard to keep the attention. So it's like, man, we needed to just do something to keep the attention. So those recordings were it. Honestly, Makeshift Paradise is one that we play to this day live, and it's still one of our best live songs, and it's still fucking rips live, and it really demonstrates a different side of the band that we love. So it's like Cracking the Glass and Makeshift is just like two really awesome sides of the band that came off that EP that we're very, very happy with still to this day.
Do you have an app or a hard drive with a bunch of riffs, melodies, lyrics, song
Yep.
ideas that you can just choose from when you start working on a new EP or on a new album?
All of us do. Yeah. Yeah. I've got like probably 140 or 150 going back for like, 15 years now. I know Adam does and I know Andrew does. Like we all do. And so sometimes we dig in the crate to see what we have. They do, there's nuggets of gold that do make it onto what will be a new stuck music all the time because it doesn't matter when it was written. If there's feel and there's, if it fits the vibe and if, just because it's not recorded and put on a record doesn't mean that it's garbage. It means that there's some really good stuff in there that we have to like sort of siphon through. So yeah, we all have folders like that, and I still add to my own songwriting folder because I always I always write songs and voice note them and like sit with an acoustic and I'm like, all right, come up with something and I put it away and it's almost like OCD if I don't, you know what I mean? If I'm sitting and I don't pull out the voice note to record the thing, I'm like, this idea is gonna be lost. This idea might be lost forever. So like that's something that I'm like really on top of, and I know the guys are too. So absolutely.
When you look back at the band's entire discography, so the albums, the EPs, the individual songs that have been released, do you find that there are any songs that have been underappreciated? That you look back and you go, I really think that one song was incredible, and it seems like for some reason that's doesn't pop up as everyone's favorite song. Can you think of something that's kind of flown
Yeah.
under the radar?
Yeah. So on Beautiful Nowhere, I'll say Undercover is one of them for me. That was written about my dad. My dad passed away, and it was just a beautiful song. And yeah, I have some people like kind of say, "What is that?" or whatever, but it didn't seem to. Yeah, I guess because it means so much to me. It never lived up to that expectation, I guess. So that for me. And man, like, on this new record, we friggin' all three of us were like, this song is fucking awesome. We loved it, and it was slow dancing. We love slow dancing. And the ones who love it really love it. But it didn't, I think also when we were starting this record cycle, we put that out first, and I think people didn't expect that from us. They were like, "Oh, okay, what is this?" It's like an R&B alternative rock song. It was very different than anything we had done. But me, Adam, and Andrew, we all stand behind that song so strongly. And yeah, it was received well, but not as well as some of the other ones. And that's one that we're like, man, like we just that's a friggin' banger to us. We are literally fans of the sound we created there because it does integrate that R&B sensibility with the rock, with the cool guitar solo and the little oohs, and like there's so much about that song that we just love so much. And yeah, that's the other one for sure.
And do those two songs show up in your set list sometimes for the concerts?
Well, that's a weird one, man. We've got so many songs now that we can play, so we need to really curate what we are playing live. So slow dancing, so Undercover, it was in our set list. We don't play that much anymore. Maybe to make a return. Never say never. Slow dancing we're trying to figure that one out live. It's a much better recorded song than it is when we play live. It has a lot to do with how my voice is recorded on that one, but also we didn't want to fuck with my voice on that one because it felt so vulnerable and honest, and I didn't want to sing in a higher register on that one, and I didn't want to be like, balls to the wall, screamy dude on that song. It wasn't the vibe. The vibe was to keep it low and chill, but finding that balance live singing low and chill doesn't always translate to the audience that way. So that's one that we're like trying to figure it out. We have played it recently, but right now when we're trying to be the most impactful that we can on a 60-minute or 70-minute set, we're TBD on that one. Like we're working on it.
We have a fan question from Karen Bashrot. I probably butchered that last name. Her question is,
Okay.
if you could collaborate with any musician or band, who would it be?
If we could collaborate with any musician or band, who would it be? Alive or dead?
Uh,
You
you
want
could
to
take
say
the
alive?
question either way. It's hard to collaborate with someone that's dead, but it's all hypothetical, right? So,
Hypothetical.
okay, one alive and one dead, just so we can cover everything.
Okay, Lane Staley for sure. Alice in Chains. We're all big Alice in Chains fans, and talking about harmonies. Even though we love Alice in Chains now with William Duvall, who's a fantastic singer, but the harmonies that Jerry Cantrell and Lane had on all of those recordings. I can speak for the whole band. We love, love, love those harmonies. So it would have been so cool with someone with Lane. Collaborate now with, man. I haven't really thought about that question before. Maybe like Cage the Elephant or something, like Matt Schultz, the singer of Cage, who I always thought had such an interesting tone and voice. But
And delivery, right? Sometimes he's
and like
almost like talking
yeah,
aggressively.
yeah, and also he's just like so fucking real and authentic. Like it just he bleeds that authenticity. Really like Nora Jones too. I really think she's got such a smooth and beautiful voice. And I heard her, she's doing her podcast with Josh Homme, and they were singing some Queen songs, and they're doing these harmonies together. I'm like, man, she's got such a beautiful, beautiful range and beautiful voice, and that would be fun and quirky. And yeah, that's someone I could think of.
So for selfish reasons, I'm always checking the podcast charts just to see where we're showing up. And, we'll have a
Okay.
good week and we show up at number 4 in Canada. And you're like, that's amazing. And I look and like
Amazing.
Nora Jones is number 3. And you're like, damn it, Nora Jones. She's always ahead. So Nora Jones, so I started the podcast 6 years ago. And
Yeah,
literally every week for 6 years, her podcast has been in like the top 3 or top 5. So she's got something good going on in the
amazing.
podcast world. It's not enough that she sold like 40 or 50 million albums. She has to take over the podcast world too. How can one person have so much?
Well, but you're right. But I think what's really cool about her podcast is that she's performing with who she's interviewing with. And so already there's something so interesting and beautiful about that because it's always these weird pairings. And so I don't think you should feel slighted because I feel like it's more than just a podcast. There's a performance aspect to it, which is obviously very, very captivating.
Man, we keep going back to full circle. Do you remember she put out an album with Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day? Do you remember this at all?
No, I didn't know. I don't. No, that's awesome
I
though.
feel like uh 10 years ago, 12 years ago, there's a full album that is a duet between Nora Jones and Billy Joe, what is it? Armstrong. So
Armstrong,
you have a
yeah.
Green Day Nora Jones amalgamation for an entire album. So you got to check that out if you like both those artists.
Okay, done. Done. I'll report back.
So Lane Staley, when you mentioned Alice in Chains, the harmonies, they have such unique harmonies. Like they don't do a standard harmony that's like a pleasant harmony. They always go to like a different note that is a little stranger, if that makes sense. So I love
Yeah.
Alice in Chains. I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm saying it's in a unique way that listening to bands I love that have been influenced by Alice in Chains, you can hear the Alice in Chains effect there. So, for example, one of my favorite bands is Stained, and
Okay. Yeah.
Stained members are obsessed with Alice in Chains. They've covered Alice in Chains songs, and there's
Right.
certain
Right.
Stained songs where you can hear the Alice in Chain choice of harmony note.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you go to a band like Taproot and you can hear the weird harmony. And again, it's Alice in Chains. And when I do an interview with member of Stained or members of Taproot and I ask, hey, just wondering if you're a fan because I hear the Alice in Chains harmonies, they go, oh yeah, we love them. That's exactly what you're hearing. That's a conscious choice. So
Right. That's awesome. Yeah, they're so identifiable with their harmonies, right? And they hit some of the minor notes as well together. And so that's what makes it them. But like Jerry Cantrell is an incredible singer, right? And
and
he's
guitarist, right? All-time great
and guitar
guitarist.
player, but his vocal, yeah, of course, guitar. That's what he's known for. But his vocals are so identifiable. And I've had the pleasure, even me and Adam and my brother, I think we've been to like two or three recent Alice in Chains shows, and dude, so good, just so good, and so just both powerhouse singers. So I would have loved to have seen Lane at some point, but yeah, been a huge influence on our harmonies, 1000%, absolutely.
Unfortunately, the Lane era was a little before our time.
Yes, yes, yes.
We've made it from your earliest musical memory all the way up to today. We're going to
Yeah.
talk about your new album, All But Nothing. This came out 48 hours ago. So it's Sunday afternoon now. This came out Friday. So this is super fresh, even though it's only a 48-hour window. How has the reception been so far? There's not a lot of a window to go from.
So far, it's been really positive, and the amount of outreach has been incredible. I mean, we were busy this weekend launching the record, and we did some press around it, and we played in Montreal. But it's been incredible. What I really love about this record is that five of these songs have been singles, right? So because we've been putting this out over a course of some time since the last year and a half, let's call it, and to then collect them on the album, there's already this familiarity with the record, and that's what's been really, really awesome to see it feel like people know the record already. So by the time it hits, they're like, damn, I know this. I feel it. And to sort of wrap it up with a bow and have really beautiful artwork and to, have some brand new songs in there that people haven't heard. I feel like it's tied together really, really beautifully. And I mean, I speak on behalf of me and the band. We're so proud of this record. It's been for me a hard couple of years on a personal level. So I really tried to pour that all out into this album and give it everything, literally all but nothing. Like that was sort of the theme. And to see it out now, 48 hours, people receiving it so well, and also being stylistically stuck on planet Earth, but a little like left of center of what Beautiful Nowhere was is what I love. What I love about playing in this band is like we just don't want to rinse and repeat the same thing. We want to show people, the many sides of our band. So yeah, I really am proud of it, and the reception's been great so far.
We have a fan comment that has to do with that radio interview and in studio performance. This is from Kelly Patton. And Kelly says, super cool evening at Chom last Friday. Thank you guys. You're going straight to the top. L'Esprit de Montréal. So a little French in there for you.
All right.
So
Right
Montreal
on.
spirit, I think, is what he's saying. So no,
We
no, no
we
question,
love
just a comment.
Montreal. No, I love it. We love Montreal. It's been, really outside of Vaughan, where we're from, and Toronto. It's been the place to really receive us really well, and we've had some of our best club shows, some big shows there. To have the support of the people of Quebec has been amazing. Also, by the way, we fucking played their Rock Room at Shome on Game 6 of the Canadians series the other night. So the whole city was like all about the Canadians. They hadn't been in this position for like a long time. And so we're like, damn, like, are people gonna fucking show to this thing? Like, this is like kind of the biggest game. Everyone was talking about it. Like traffic getting into the city, everyone wearing jerseys. But to see, those contest winners come in, support the band, singing all of our fucking songs on this like epic night of what was happening in the city was just so incredible. And then luckily we finished. The game went to overtime. Unfortunately, they lost. But there was still a moment where the TVs were on so people could watch. So we didn't feel like total shit that they were like missing this really historic game for the city. But man, to see people care that much, it chokes us up, man. Like that shit really we're very grateful for that.
That's a crazy game to play at the same time in the city because that was an all-time great game. It was 0-0, went into overtime
Yes.
or double overtime. The final score is 1-0. And the game went from like 7 p.m. to like 11 p.m. or midnight or
Yeah.
something. So it's pretty
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah, and man, the energy in the city was it's incredible. I mean, hopefully the energy is in Toronto's good tonight because the Raptors are playing Game 7, so that's a big one tonight here. So versus the Cavs, I'm very excited about that. So I get it. I get why people rally around a sports team because it brings community together, it brings the city together, and even if you don't love the sport, it's fun to just be a part of that energy and. It's sort of in the same way that people feel about music or bands, right? So it's a really cool thing.
Yeah, Montreal is known as having the best concert crowds in all of Canada. Whenever bands play and they're just playing
Yes.
Toronto and Montreal and they skip Ottawa, I go to Montreal to see the show. And every show I see in Montreal, the crowds are mosh pit, crowd
Yeah.
surfing, chanting
Yes.
the ole ole ole, just
Yes.
unbelievable. I went to a show that it was Megadeth, Trivium, Lamb of God, like just incredible quadruple bill.
Yeah.
And the mosh pit was so insane for Lamb of God and for Trivium that I took videos to document the insanity, and both bands saw my videos that went viral. They reached out, like the singer guitarist from Trivium reached out and was like, dude, that video is insane. Here's my email. Can you send it to me? We want to put it on our official account. That's how crazy Montreal is.
That's so sick. Yeah, dude, they're the best. They're the best. And they care so deeply and they love music. The people that were there, they like listened to the station to win the contest. And there was a community of them there that were friends and they were at our table, our merch table at the end, and we're, taking photos and we're signing posters and like, how do you guys all know each other? They're like, oh, we love this station and we love rock music and it brought us together. So that passion is unmatched in a lot of other places. And it's beautiful. It's amazing.
You mentioned that before the album came out, you guys had already released 5 or 6 singles with accompanying music
Yeah.
videos. For
Yeah.
the fans that are familiar with those 5 or 6 singles, but in the last 48 hours haven't had a chance to listen to the new album, what can they expect from the 4 or 5 songs that they haven't listened to yet?
Man, a lot of feel and a lot of emotion. The songs that are coming out, which would be Intermezzo, Black Champagne, Cavities, Hollow, and I'm missing one more. Oh, I guess Sun Gazing came out already. But those songs were recorded live off the floor at Noble Street Studios in Toronto in August. And an amazing collaborator and producer named Chris Price flew up to Toronto and he's like, dudes, we had these songs demoed, and he's like, you guys need to fucking play these live off the floor. And if people don't know what that means we're playing in a room together, literally with the click in our ear, and we're playing together as a band. And in the last few years, we haven't done that. We started our band making recordings like that, but in the last few years, it's been all in the box. I sit down and I play bass. Adam sits down and plays guitar. We all do everything separately. Andrew's in the booth. Andrew's playing drums first. Setting out the bed tracks. This was like we did it all together, and the energy of the band is really captured. And that was really nice to come back to. It feels alive when you hear it. It feels authentic, and it feels like just enough of our roots is stuck on planet Earth, but it also feels like modern stuck on planet Earth, like what Beautiful Nowhere and Semi-Stable EP sounds like moving forward. So it's like this mix of who we are with where we are right now, and so much feel, so much energy, and man, we fucking got in the studio. We did not expect to nail every song in like 2 or 3 takes. In fact, we were only supposed to record 3 of them, and we're like, "Fuck it, let's throw Cavities in there." Like let's do intermezzo, like let's do this, let's tie this album together. And we worked really, really hard. I think we were there for 3 days. I did the vocals in one of those 3 days. We did all the bed tracks. Adam did guitars, Andrew did drums. It was all in this last piece of August. And so when people hear the record, they're going to hear how alive those rock songs are on that recording.
You mentioned Chris Price, who produced 5 songs on the album. I
Yes.
reached out to one Chris Price, and
All
I
right.
and I have some kind words. Chris says we're gonna get you right in the feels by the end of this interview.
Oh, don't. You're killing
So
me.
you fight the feels,
Okay.
fight the feels. This is from Chris. He says Al is one of the best singers I've ever worked with and a great writer. He's also one of the most driven and dedicated musicians I know, and it's inspiring to be around that energy. Working with him and Andrew and Adam has been a privilege, and I'm proud to call them friends as well as collaborators. That's from Chris Price.
Oh, dude.
Fight
Chris
the
is,
feels.
oh, dude. Chris, first of all, Chris is comes from a very musical family. Um, he fucking played on Ringo Starr's album. Okay. Chris is the only musician we know when we were in Nashville. So he's technically the A&R on this album. He also works in Anthem. But outside of that, we have such a strong bond and friendship. Came to Nashville with us on the 3 or 4 trips that we were down there, and like just fucking really helped tie this album together. He was there during the process. Also, he's one of the only musicians who doesn't play guitar like this. He plays fucking guitar on his lap, and he's got such a crazy ear. You could be like, dude, okay, this is an example. So, coming back to like 1950s music, I love Santo and Johnny. They're this instrumental duo. They have a very famous song that in the last few years has gone incredibly famous called Sleepwalk. It's this instrumental. And so like one night, like, I don't know, we're like having a couple drinks. We're back at our house in Nashville, just finished with the studio. We're like fucking around, like whatever, chilling. And he's like sitting there playing, and I'm like, Chris, dude, I'm like, can you like play Sleepwalk by Santo and Johnny? And he's like, let me think about it for a second. And he like thinks about it for like 6 seconds, and then he just fucking rips it. And I'm just like, what? Like slide in everything, the whole melody, and his precision, his musicianship, his ear is incredible. And not only that, he helped with so many harmonies on this record. Like the one thing that we did is on All But Nothing, we didn't do the typical Stuck on Planet Earth harmonies. Chris was there hearing this other thing that we were doing and like was like, try this. I'm like, dude, that's fucking it. Like that's it. That's the harmony. So not only did he produce those songs, but he also like, I would say he works in a different way than we work with other producers. He's a little more hands off, but there's something beautiful about being hands off because he's letting us actually drive the car and he's the passenger, where we've worked with other people where they're driving the car and we're the passenger. And he was really an amazing passenger, and he taught us so much about getting our confidence back to play live in the studio. And I couldn't say like nicer things about him. He really has been such a huge part of this album.
3 of the singles, Roll, Highway Song, and Erase Me, got played on active rock charts. 3 songs made it to the top 10 in Italy. I have 2 questions. What does that kind of support at radio mean to you guys? And how do you pop off in Italy?
Well, so the support is the best thing ever. It's incredible. Like you said, you're going into these stations and you're getting played with all of these rock and roll heavyweights, these guys that we've looked up to, and then our song is somewhere in the mix. And like, to feel that in Canada is has been it's been incredible. It's like a dream come true because when you're a kid, you imagine yourself playing in a band and being on the radio. And so that support has helped so much, and people who would never normally hear us know about our band. So that has been such an amazing thing, and we're so happy that radio's taken such a liking to it. The Italy thing has happened because we signed a small deal with a record label down in Italy, and I don't know if it's like the 3 of us are Italian guys, Italian Canadian dudes. We're very proud of our heritage. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. Like we're kind of we make fun of the fact that we're like these Italian guys, and yeah, I'm from Woodbridge, so I mean like it doesn't really get more Italian Canadian than that in terms of like Ontario. If you know Ontario, grew up in an Italian Canadian community, and so Adam and so did Andrew. So to have like this thing happen in Italy has been crazy. But we've yet to play there, and that's one thing on our bucket list right now. So if you were to ask me like what's the thing, it's like we're dying to get over there because we have so many fans there that are reaching out to us on social media. We hear them, we know we want to get there so badly. But they love rock music and they love Stuck on Planet Earth, so it's a beautiful thing.
We have a fan question from Josh Stewart. He says, I absolutely love Stuck on Planet Earth and I can't wait for the new album. I've watched your music journey for years now. How has your relationship with performing changed since you first started? So, very broad question. You can take that any way you'd like.
No, that's a great question. And thanks, Josh, for asking that. I honestly think like we are we hold ourselves to a very high standard now when it comes to performance. And I have to really give a shout out to Andrew. Andrew is the quarterback of the band. Playing live, he takes so much pride in making sure that our show is like cutting edge, whether it comes to like our lighting production, making sure that our performance is like as best as it could be. He has really taken the reins to make sure that we're like on top of our shit. And sometimes there's a lot to fall on him because he's literally running our light show and he's running our in-ears and you know but all of it is part of the bigger plan, which is like making sure that we're delivering the best rock show that we can deliver. And honest to God, we used to be like loosey goosey and sloppy coming up, and now it's like we take it so seriously. Like if people are paying money and their hard-earned money to come and watch our band, we got to give them a fucking show, and we got to make sure they're dancing and having a good time and smiling and maybe feeling emotional with whatever song we're playing with or have some connection. And so now it's more like, man, we hold ourselves to a very high degree of like how we're going to outdo every show. And the beautiful thing about rock and roll is, man, there's bumps and bruises. It's not perfect, and that's what I love about going to watch rock shows. I love to hear, once in a while the singer fucking strain his voice or squeak or the guitar player fuck up on a note or drums. But there's nothing better than watching a band who is so locked in and so unified in their sound that it hits you like a wall. And I really think we've worked overtime to make sure that that is how we sound live. And these last string of shows that we've been playing in 2026 alone, there's been quite a few. Been such a step up in our performance and our stage banter, and it feels like it's really clicked for the first time, and it's something that we take a lot of pride in.
I think the first two songs on the album, High Vibration and Erase Me, are a great 1-2 punch, kicking off the album with awesome atmosphere. The song Erase Me. So at the end of 2025, I always check the lists of most played songs on the charts so that I know who's popular, who should I be interviewing. And I'm looking at the list, and I believe it's around number 71 is your song Erase Me. Most played
All
songs,
right.
modern rock radio in Canada for
Yeah.
the entire
Yeah.
year. So you're 71, and man, there's bands below you that are like The Offspring, like some Green Day songs. You're like, this is insane. So I sent you guys a picture,
You did.
and I'm like, dude, you guys crushed it. And
Yeah.
that song, so ton of radio play. It got played for different hockey games, like over 30 games played at Sportsnet
Yeah.
Hockey Night in
Yeah.
Canada. What was it like to see your song on that big of a chart? It's not like, oh, for 1 week you show up somewhere on a
Yeah.
chart. This is the year-end chart. So what did it mean to you to see your song on that chart, and also to see your song in a different medium, like in a hockey game?
Dude, I mean, it's amazing. It's no better feeling just to, this thing that is music can be a real slog sometimes, and and we've certainly slogged it out. So to have any ounce of sort of recognition, or people being like, man, I love this song, or being used in a hockey game, dude, there's no better feeling that, like, to see it connect, on a national level in Canada, like that has been an amazing feeling, because we were those guys looking at those charts every year and being like, fuck, how are we gonna get on here? What are we, how are we gonna make it? So we're always just blown away, dude. Like it's an amazing feeling. There's no other way to say it. And then the hockey stuff, so many of our fans have come from sports over the years, whether it's from hearing us on like hockey podcasts or the NHL or CFL, who's like they've taken our music and licensed it and gone the distance. So many of our fans that are coming out to shows are literally from like sports fans. And hey, man, like I said, music is the great connector, and if it's connecting people from that love all different types of things, man, that's what we're here to do. So it's incredible to be used as part of the Leafs and Sportsnet and all those things, man. I mean, yeah, I can't say I can't say anything else. It's a great feeling.
The last song on the album is Highway Song. And that is not only my favorite song on the album, it is my favorite song from your entire discography.
Wow. Thank you.
I'm putting myself out there. I'm saying it. I'm planting my
Okay.
flag. Highway Song is number one, baby. And do other
Why?
people
Why is it your favorite song?
I just think it's like a perfect pop rock song. Like
Right.
it hits the right notes, the right hooks, the right harmonies. Sonically, it's very pleasant, it's very pleasing. Sometimes people have a great chorus and it's an undeniable chorus and it feels like the verse is just kind of throwaway to get to the chorus. And you're like, I just want to hear the chorus and I'll sit through the verse to get to the chorus. I find that a lot of hit songs, it's like they don't even need the verse. Like once the chorus hits,
Right.
it's undeniable and
Yeah.
that's it. And I find I love the verse as much as the chorus, which is awesome. And you have like the dip of a note change, the verse
Yeah.
going into the chorus, which I find like really pulls you along, and you have the big payoff as well. I'm trying to think of why else. Like it's just been on infinite repeat since we booked this interview. So I think that song's amazing.
Great.
Do other people tell you that's their favorite song, or am I in the
Yes.
minority for that? And is there any behind the scenes info you can tell me about that song, about where the idea came from or the writing, anything?
Yeah, so yes, it is a lot of people's favorite song. In fact, the song was powerful when it came out, but a few weeks later we released the music video, and I think the music video pulls on the heartstrings because it's literally us driving around in a car and these flashback clips of our career in this band, and you literally see us as young men, you know what I mean, and coming up. And so and if you listen to the words, you would really, take away and understand, number one, why it's the last song on the record, but number two, also the narrative of the story, which is we have been the same three dudes. We have slogged it out. We have uh, had some amazing successes as a band that most bands will never get to. And we've also had some really low lows. And, coming out of the pandemic, dude, it was really hard. It was really, really hard on all of us. And, the guys are starting families. I was going through a divorce. It was a really hard time in our band's history because we didn't know how we were going to continue on. Literally did not. And I remember, you know, it was around Christmas time, and I was like strumming this idea, and I had "This is goodbye, it ain't no no," and I remember I went to a rehearsal space, and like me, Adam, and Andrew were there, and I'm like, dude, let's just like fucking workshop this for like a minute. I still have the recording on my phone of the first time that we played it, and Adam, like right away, just goes dun 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 dun, like starts mimicking my melody on the guitar, and then Andrew comes in with this fucking beat. Like what you hear on that recording is how we envisioned that song from the very first rehearsal. And then we went to work with Hill Krokudis, who praise to Hill Krokudis, who is a Juno Award-winning engineer and producer, and she is such a friggin' talent, and she is uh, just got so many amazing ideas, and we sat in this room and we hashed out this song, and she co-wrote the song with us, and I think we honestly finished that song in like an hour and a half. It wrote itself. It was just one of those that just kind of happened. And the song is really about us not knowing how we were going to continue on as a band, like maybe being at the end of the road. And if the band were to end tomorrow, that would be our goodbye song, I think, because it perfectly encapsulates sort of this idea of this hard but beautiful road that we've been on.
You have a show coming up in a few days, May 7th at the Rivoli in Toronto. And then I believe in the near future, you'll be announcing maybe some festival dates, maybe some
Yeah.
shows in support
Yeah.
of this album.
Yes.
We have a fan question to do with shows. This is from
Okay.
Zach Zanardo. And the question is, what's the
I love
best
that.
pre-show and post-show meal?
Okay, first of all, we have to give a shout out to Zach. That is Zach Zanardo of the Juno Award-winning band, the Mono Whales, and a very dear friend of mine, an incredible producer. Favorite pre I don't eat before a show because I know I have to scream, and if I eat I feel like sometimes I think I'm gonna sound like Kermit the Frog or something. So like I don't like to eat before shows. In fact, it's I kind of starve myself after a show. Fucking give me whatever, dude. Like, what did we have the other night? They gave us this amazing Portuguese chicken. So we had chicken and ribs and barbecue. And at that point, after not eating all day and essentially fasting, I'm ready to like smash down some food. So whatever, pizza, probably things that aren't good to eat after not eating all day and then stuffing my face with it just to like feel leveled out because yeah, I don't know. When I eat, I then sound like Kermit the Frog.
I saw Mono Whales here at Blues Fest, and then I believe they broke up shortly after that. Are they not together anymore? Am I thinking of the right
No, they're
band?
not. They're not. They're a great band and so many great songs. And man, Zach stepped in for Adam last year on a show. Around this time last year, he came in, and man, we've been friends with Zach for a while, and love the guy. He's a true talent, an incredible guitar player, amazing songwriter, and a really good upcoming producer in the city. So it's amazing to see everything that he's doing. So, of course, he would ask that question because he knows we've shared many meals together. We've cooked meals, we've eaten a lot of pizza slices. So, of course, he has to ask me that one.
What's funny is when I made the post asking for fan questions, Zach posted that question, and then Adam commented he put gnocchi, and I go,
Oh
I
God.
go, I go, Adam, don't put the answer. He needs a reason to tune in to the interview to get his answer, right?
Well,
So
I do love gnocchi with some bolognese sauce. Beautiful dish. Love it. It's a good time for sure. But like we're not really ever eating pasta after a show. It's usually like a quick and dirty fucking, meal like a pizza or like a
you got like a
burger
shawarma somewhere.
or shawarma or something. Yeah, exactly. Totally.
You've shared the stage with some amazing bands: Weezer, Finger Eleven, Moist, Big Wreck, Death from Above 1979, Gowan, I Mother Earth, Danko Jones. Which of those bands were you most a fan of before sharing the stage with them? So you've mentioned Big Wreck already. Anyone else that you were a huge fan and it
Yeah,
was such
of,
an honor
of
to
course.
join the stage with them?
I mean, I'm Mother Earth. I know you said you loved them. I mean, but, my brother was listening to them as a kid, and One More Astronaut was on constant repeat, whether it was on Big Shiny Tunes or whatever. So that was really awesome. Of course, Finger Eleven too. Fun fact: Scott, the singer of Finger Eleven, co-wrote "I Want It Now" with us. So he, we love those guys, dude. I mean, we grew up listening to like first time and one thing and you name it, dude. Like they're you know good times. Like they're a Canadian mainstay band, and they got a pretty solid drummer these days in Steve. So they're one of our favorites, man. We would love to play with them again. They're great. But yeah, all of those bands are, I mean, eh, crazy to think about it.
Behind me, this is my wall of fame. These are my favorite albums from artists and
I
bands
see
that
this.
I've interviewed. So up here, I got Finger Eleven.
Wait, is this a real wall or like a fake wall? Like
Oh,
a
this
like
is
a
real.
digital that's real shit.
This is real.
Love it.
Yeah,
Love it. Yeah, you
I'll
got
leave
some
it crooked just so. Oh, I don't know if it's crooked anymore, but anyways, so yeah, I have this. I've done about 12 hours worth of interviews from members of Finger Eleven between the original drummer Rich Bedeau, the new drummer Steve Moe that we're talking about. Rick Jacket was I I did this podcast for 2 years before anybody would even listen, and then suddenly I had Chuck Daly, who was the bass player for I Mother Earth.
Yeah,
And from doing the
yeah.
Chuck Daly
Love Chuck.
interview, suddenly Rick from Finger 11 said, "Hey, it's the middle of the pandemic. We have nothing going on. I'd love to do an interview." So it was these two bands back to back. And since then, every guest I've had in the last 4 years has mostly been gold, platinum, multi-platinum selling. So you talk about loving I Mother Earth and Finger 11. I have to give them credit for the start of the popularity of this podcast. And
Wow.
with you mentioning that you love I Mother Earth, this is going to be cool. Is I
Cool.
just confirmed former I Mother Earth frontman Brian Byrne. He's going to be, I guess, on the podcast in a couple weeks, which means I'm about to put out the official poster for this spring interview series. So there'll be your handsome face and there'll be I Mother Earth right there on the poster with you.
Dude, that's awesome. Love Brian Burns. Love Summertime in the Void. Those guys fucking rip. They're so great. Canada has some of the best rock and alternative rock bands. I will stand behind it. And some of the music that this country produces is bar none. So that's amazing. Congrats, dude. Your show is incredible. Love it. Absolutely love it.
Thank you. And another iconic Canadian rock band that you shared the stage with is The Watchmen, Platinum
Yes.
Band. And I
Yes.
reached out to one band, The Watchmen, and I have some kind
Wow.
words from drummer Sammy Cohn. And Sammy says he likes you too because he wrote a lot. Sammy says, I didn't get to watch them as closely as I would have liked to during our last run of shows, but even from a distance, it was obvious this is a band that is driven. That kind that is willing to put in the work and do whatever it takes to carve out a place in a tough industry. The Watchmen played 3 shows back to back with them across Ontario last month. And throughout it all, they were nothing but professional, friendly, and easy to share a stage with. Anyone who has the patience to sit through our exhausting sound checks deserves to be commended. When we recently locked in our show at the Danforth Music Hall in Toronto this November, they were an easy choice to bring in as support. Sometimes you cross paths with bands out on the road and you just know that you want to see them win. That is exactly how I felt after these shows. Wishing these guys nothing but the best. They are on the right track. Sammy Cohn, drummer for the platinum selling band The Watchmen.
Ah, dude. Those guys, thank you, Sammy. That what a beautiful message. They're so fucking good. Like we getting to watch them side stage every night and just fucking kill it. Danny, their singer, is so good. And man, they've got so many songs that you're just like, oh fuck, The Watchman. This is the Watch. Well, this is The Watchman. Um, and we're honored, dude. We were so honored to play those shows. When you watch the pros do it and you see the way that these guys do it, we're just there being sponges. We're trying to learn as much as we can. And but also somehow stay out of the way because it's their gig and it's their show and it's ultimately their fans that came out to those shows. Although we did have a lot of fans coming out for us, which was a beautiful thing. But in particular, the last night of that show in your very hometown of Ottawa at the Bronson Center was electric. It was a beautiful, beautiful concert. It was, and me and Adam Andrew, we walked off stage that night. It was also on Andrew's birthday, so we were fucking drinking a little bit, having a little bit of shots, having a little fun, being a little loosey goosey because we're
A
like,
few
man, this is gonna be
drinky
fucking
poos.
awesome. A couple drinky poos, and we walked off stage that night, and we said that was. In all of our years of being a band, that was by far our best show ever of history of all time. Was that show in Ottawa? So the Bronson Center is ingrained in our head, and dude, can't wait. We're playing a bunch more shows with them. Not even in November. I think we're playing a couple summer festivals with them too. I think we're playing one out in Barrie. I think in Woodstock, Ontario. I don't know if they're announced yet, but more to go with those guys, dude. And love them, love them. Awesome guys.
Breaking news on a few show dates there, a
There you
few
go. Yeah, yeah.
announcements. Man, I love the Bronson Center. I see more shows at the Bronson Center than any other venue in Ottawa. It's great because it's like 1,000 people. Like it's a great
Dude.
number. You have the floor and the balcony, so whether you want to
Yeah.
be standing or sitting, you have the option. And for people like me that aren't very tall, the whole venue is on a slant. So the person in front of you is down lower than you are because of the slant. So anywhere you are in the venue, you have a perfect view. And if you want to go right up to the stage, you can make it through to the front at any point.
You're so right. And what's even cooler is we're playing that show and we're like looking up at the balcony and just seeing the people standing up in their seats, and it just gives me the shivers just thinking about it. Such a great venue. Sounded awesome too. Beautiful. Love it. Love the Bronson Center.
I'm looking at my wall of upcoming concerts, and I'll be back at the Bronson Center on June 20th to see Winter Sleep, my favorite band
Oh, I
on
love
planet
Winter
Earth.
Sleep.
And I'm going to be seeing Il Scarlet as well at the Bronson Center. So I'll be there soon,
Very,
and
very good
I'll
friends
have
of
a
ours.
drink or three in your honor when I'm back in the Bronson
Yes, yes,
Center.
and just to speak about El Scarlet, they took us out on some of their early shows, man, and some of those were the best shows, and love those guys, sweethearts, great fucking band, Suave and Alex and John. Johnny is one of my favorite guys, man. He's just an absolute legend on the bass guitar, and he's got an amazing voice, and we've been friends for a long time, so love those guys.
It's funny whenever I'm messaging John Doherty on Instagram, it's funny because you're typing and it's John Doe before you finish the rest of it. And I
Yes.
always find
Yes.
every
Yes.
time I type, I find that funny before I finish the rest of his last name.
Dude, we're waiting. I'm waiting for John to put out some of his solo music. He's been doing like these like little acoustic tidbits on Instagram. He's fucking so good, dude. His voice is so amazing. And even his strumming on the acoustic is beautiful. And really funny, man. Back in the day when really no one gave a fuck about us, we were on a festival with them, and the first time I met John, he heard me singing on stage, and he was like camped out somewhere on the side of the stage. And funny enough, we were playing with Walk Off the Earth that bill too, and John like came around to find me. He's like, "Who the fuck are you guys? Who the fuck? What's your name?" I was like, "Hey, I'm Alan Placeman." He's like, "Man, you guys are so fucking good," and he's been such a big supporter of our band. So I love those guys.
We've made it to the final handful of questions. Do you have any dreams that are still in your heart that you're working towards that you have not attained yet? Or are you a man already fulfilled? You know, some people want to win a Grammy or a Juno. Some people want a number one hit. Is there anything specific that you maybe have in your mind or on a vision board or in a journal that you would like to attain someday?
I mean, I would be lying to say that all of the above wouldn't be amazing as a band. I wouldn't want to even fake that. Yeah, man. I mean, I think for us, it's definitely to keep doing this together and to move through life playing music together is I'm trying to sound like not cheesy, but like it's something that we hope to continue to do because this stuff is really hard, and there's a lot of moments where you're really digging to keep doing this thing that is playing in a rock band. But man, dream, keep playing with my best buddies, keep making music that we love to listen to, and hopefully, yeah, there is some bucket list stuff, which is like getting over to Europe, which we have yet to do. We've yet to cross the pond. Want to cross the pond. We want to get there really, really badly. And hey, man, if the Junos want to take a look at Stuck on Planet Earth and listen to our album and give these three Italian Canadian guys from Bonn, Ontario a chance, man, that doesn't hurt at all either.
I think this is the album. We're going to manifest that right now. The album's
Let's
only
do
been out 48 hours.
it. Let's do
It is
it.
not yet up for Juno consideration, but we will go back to this timestamp, okay? That we are manifesting a Juno nomination for this album. How about that?
Let's do it.
All
Let's
right,
do it.
it's in the ether and now it's out of our control and we will come back to this exact moment when the nomination comes in and we'll have you back on to talk about the Juno nomination and how that feels that we manifested it.
Deal.
When you look back on your life and career, what are you most proud of?
I think I'm most proud of that we're true to ourselves, man. As a songwriter, like, for me, sometimes it's singing about the most uncomfortable things that I could and putting that into music. It is therapy for me. So the fact that I've been able to sort of stay consistent with being vulnerable and open and not trying to just fill space for the sake of filling space, but actually having something to say and pour out how I'm feeling in my life into the words and the music of the band, and to have the support of my brothers with me doing it. I'm very proud that, we can stand really tall behind the music because it's real shit. It's real. And the for me, but there's been I mean, obviously you can tell, I'm like, I'm an emotional dude. And for me, there's been so many moments where I've been singing some songs that really hit here in the heart for me. Whether it was Highway Song the other night, it was the first time we played it live, and I have to take a breath during it because, like, I get emotional singing it. And to me, that's always a really great sign, is if I'm playing live and that emotion, like, is right here and I'm feeling it while I'm singing it, means that, I know that I'm doing my job as a songwriter, to convey something that is true to me and true to my band members. So I'm very proud that we've always sort of worn our blinders. We've stuck to our lane. We haven't listened to the naysayers. We've seen every buzzy band come up or come down, and that shit doesn't mean nothing to us. We're just like on. We're just going, and we only know one way, and that's forward. And to be with the same guys, the brotherhood that we have, the family dynamic that we've built, it's special. It's rare, I think.
The haters, they can take a bus. Now, when you look back on your life and career, what are you most grateful for?
Dude, I'm grateful that we get to play fucking rock shows for a living, and we get to play to people that really love our music and that connect with us. I'm grateful for the fact that people just connect with us in general and connect with our music, but I'm grateful for the guys that I do this with all day. Like, I've said it a million times, but it's the same three dudes. Like, it's crazy. It's the same three dudes, and I'm sure there are a lot of people in our personal lives that look at us and go, what the fuck are these guys doing? Like, this is crazy. Same three dudes, there hasn't been a lot of drama. There's been no substance abuse. There's been really, it's been just a bunch of guys who love playing music, who persevere, who fucking work really hard at playing music, and are just constantly trying to outdo ourselves. So yeah.
If you could sit down next to your 10-year-old self and you could whisper words of advice, sharing everything you've learned since 10 years old, the experiences, the lessons, the mentorships, the ups and downs, the dreams attained, the heartbreak, what do you whisper to cute little Al sitting there to guide him through this human experience?
um Keep it real. Keep it real. Don't chase. When you're young and 12, 13, and you're looking at what everyone else is doing, sometimes you're trying to chase what's cool or what's in, or but the lesson that we learned, when we started this band, is like, the one thing that people like is us, is who we are, is our message. It's not about what's trendy or what's cool, or it's just keeping it real, and being honest with ourselves, so that the honesty pours itself out and lends itself to the music, which is um, really what All But Nothing is about. There's so much in this new album that is so vulnerable and honest, and at times hard for me to listen to because it's uncomfortable for me. So keeping it real has sort of always been in the back of my mind.
Final question. Is there anything you'd like to say to the fans that have supported the band over all these years?
Man, thank you so much. We try to take the time to connect with every single fan, every person who's bought a shirt or a CD or a vinyl or whatever it's been. We're so grateful. We're so grateful for you guys, man. Um, there's been some people that really use their hard-earned money to come and watch our band and have supported us from day one and who are always there waving the Stuck on Planet Earth flag. And without you guys, man, we would just be three dudes in a jam space with no one to play to. So very, very, very grateful for everybody who gives an ounce of a piss about our band.
As we wrap up, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge you for your lifelong pursuit of mastery as a singer, as a songwriter, as a bass player. I commend you for having a big vision for your life, for setting goals, for working towards them on a daily basis. You've shown the rest of us what's truly possible if we also commit to living out our dreams and working towards those goals. I want to thank you for putting out great music that's become the soundtrack to the lives of people from around the world. Top 10 hits in Italy, man. I'm talking all over the world. And last but not least, I want to thank you for this interview, sitting down with me for the last 2+ hours, answering all my ridiculous Stuck on Planet Earth questions. So, Al, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Joel, you are stand up, dude. I've been listening to your podcast for a long time, and you give the best interviews, and you really take the time to research. And you asked, this is the best interview I've ever done in my whole career over the years. And I really wanted to be on here to talk about the new record. So thank you for having me and inviting me in to do this and to be able to share it with your audience and the band's fans is going to be awesome. So thank you so much, dude. Really, really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the kind words. So, to the Al Capo fans, to the Stuck on Planet Earth fans, to the podcast fans, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Cheers. Thank you, man.
If you've enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Who would you like me to feature next for a 2-hour deep dive interview? You can let me know in the comments. You can also send me an email at joelmartinmastery@gmail.com, or you can reach out to me on all social media platforms at joelmartinmastery. So I am done. I am complete. I approve this message, and I'll see you on the next episode.